Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
The late, great Will Rogers said it the very best. Number one, never slap a man who's chewing tobacco. And number two, never kick a couch pie on a hot day. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. On a Tuesday, good-looking sunshine outside, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Oh, thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, sponsored by our major corporate sponsor, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and, of course, our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly and the crew, 734-6969. Good morning, Gina Jameson. How are you?
Good morning, sunshine. I am doing well, and it is gorgeous outside.
Well, it is gorgeous outside, and I'm hoping to soak up a few of those rays later on today. Actually, the weather forecast we're going to have in just a moment from Michael, but I think it's going to be a pretty nice week, and we'll wait to give his official confirmation on that. But do we have a pledger this morning?
We have Rotten on for the pledge, and, of course, Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very good. Rotten, go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You always do such a nice job. And now, without further ado, we're going to quickly go to michaelrogersweather.com, brought to you by Save On Shells. If you don't have a Save On Shell, you don't have the protection for your pickup bed. That's right. And all the goodies you throw in there, whether it's tools, groceries, saddles, tack, whatever, you need to protect it with a Save On Shell from 1835 Overland in Burley. We'll tell you more about them in a moment. Here's Michael Rogers weather.
The next time you'll see rain will be Saturday night, so what does that mean? Nice weather all the way through up until Saturday, at least right around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. 70 for the high today. Should see the low 80s by Friday, but got a nice week and some nice sunrises right around the Twin Towers. There you go.
Thank you, Michael. Excellent job. Save On Shells with Anthony and the crew. 312-1525, the number to call. And they've got all the new ARE camper shells, many, many different models. Believe me, they've got all the colors, all the different models, and a fantastic selection of used shells, too. You know, when I went over there to get my shell, boy, I tell you what, it was hard to make a choice. They had so many to offer, and absolutely installation parts and service, they really can always find what you want if they don't have what you're looking for, and I doubt that because they got so many of them over there. Fantastic selection of shells right there at Save On Shells. Protect your goodies, your tools, your saddles, your tack, your groceries, everything with a shell from Save On Shells, 1835 Overland and Burley. The number to call, Anthony, 312-1525. There we go. We got a busy day here today. Lots of different stories and lots of different great words from all of our sponsors. And right now, let's have this good word for Governor Butch Otter.
Out here, we live by a simple code. We stay true to our family, our friends, our community, true to our values. Governor Butch Otter has been true to us, true to Idaho's conservative values.
I'm Governor Butch Otter. I know that sticking to Idaho's values gets results. That's why so many things that I've set out to do have been accomplished. I kept my promise to provide tax relief to the people of Idaho. It was long overdue, and I've shown that we can run the state on a balanced budget. Butch cut our taxes by $150 million, helping individuals and families. Butch is fighting to take control of Idaho's water quality standards from the EPA. And even though critics said it couldn't be done, Governor Otter balanced our budget without raising taxes. There's no doubt about Governor Otter's conservative values and who he serves. He serves us. There's still a lot of work to be done. I need your vote on May 20th, and I'll keep working hard and staying true to our Idaho values. Paid for by Otter for Idaho, Cord Orchard, Brown Treasurer.
Thank you very much. Hey, Gina, in just a moment, I've got to tell you a story you're not going to believe. I saw it last night, and I couldn't help but remember. This is one of the most gross things I've ever seen in my life, and I'm going to tell you about it in just a second, so stand by. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Don't forget, they've got the very best in cleaning your clothes, your tablecloths, your drapes, everything that needs cleaning. They can do the job. I tell you, I've been going there for years. Kevin, Cindy, the whole crew at Daryl's Cleaners. And you can get prepaid gift cards, too. Those are great gifts to the family. And let them know all about Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Don't forget, too, when it comes to SafeLink Internet, nobody does the job they do. It's Idaho's #1 choice. All you have to do to get on their program, call them at 677-8000. 677-8000. They've been around for 16 years and counting and getting bigger and better and faster. I'm telling you what, they are phenomenal. Super people to work with. Go to their website, SafeLinkInternet.com. They would love to have you as a customer. Tell them I sent you. 677-8000, SafeLink Internet, doing the job for you. Gina, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yesterday, Deanne had to go grocery shopping after we had to do a few other odds and ends in Twin Falls. So she goes to the grocery store, and I have some of my finer moments watching people at the grocery store, and they're going and coming from the building. I saw something yesterday that I couldn't believe, and I thought I'd share it with you.
Oh, please do tell.
Here comes, and can you maybe turn up the feed line to me just a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Here comes two guys out of the store, and walking to their vehicle, and one is really giggling and laughing. Now, these are guys probably in their 60s, old fogies like me, and the one reaches up and kind of pats the one guy on the back of the shoulder, and his false teeth fell on the ground. So what did he do? He stopped, bent over, picked up his teeth, and just crammed them back in his mouth.
You know, I heard a story like that over the weekend where, and this happened to do with an older biker, where a biker was going down the road and everything, and he turned around to talk to somebody, and his lower teeth fell out, as it were.
I couldn't believe this when I saw this, but he reached down and just off the pavement put them back in his mouth. I guess the 5-second rule applied.
He didn't even, spit them off? Or
No! And I kind of cringed, and Ruby, our dog, was sitting next to me, and she even cringed and looked at me like, boss, what's the matter with this guy?
Well, you go to the old adage, God made dirt, and dirt don't hurt.
Oh, yeah, but in a parking lot, there's a lot. Oh, my. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Danny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. Oh, we enjoy going there. Absolutely phenomenal food, great people. And besides all that, the service is just great. You're going to love it. I mean, what can I say? The password is great. Danny's Restaurant, right there at 611 Overland in Burley. And we're going to be over there next week on the 22nd for our next lunch bunch, Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And don't forget, from the breakfast menu to the luncheon menu to later on in the evening, oh my gosh, everything is fantabulous. You got to try their omelets. They're absolutely out of this world. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Also want to remind you, your local home and ranch store, Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, 436-0141, the number to call if you want to check on anything. And believe me, they've got anything and everything for all your chickens. Feed, water dishes, houses, fencing, anything you need. And, boy, don't forget Fair Time. You know, here it is already middle May, and we're talking Fair Time. It's right around the corner, and they've got all your 4-H needs over there, too, all your feeds, etc. So stop over and see the good folks at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Steve, Mandy, the whole crew, 910 South Oneida and Rupert, Valleywide Home and Ranch. Yesterday on the program, we were talking about a couple of subjects that possibly upset some people, but it's got to be said. And they, in turn, will call us haters and bigots. But to retain our beliefs, which I feel we have every right to retain our beliefs, I will come out and say that the majority of the United States is still comprised of Christians and people that really do not, emphasize the word not, believe in gay marriage and the gay and transgender lifestyle. We have a right to our opinion. We have a right to our freedom of speech. We have a right to hold true to the beliefs that we've had since little children and our fathers and mothers and grandparents before us. We have a right to believe as we wish. And they can call us the haters and the bigots all they want to. That is okay. I can take it. I got broad shoulders. But I will not be cornered and threatened to be sued or anything else by their being bigots and haters, because I no longer can have the right to my opinion. And that's where we need to speak up. We still have the right to our free speech. We still have the right to our opinion. We still have the right to say that that lifestyle is not normal. It's deviated. We still have that right. And we need to speak out and make sure that we exercise that right. And that goes from the churches to all the other groups. I mean, we still have a right to our opinion and freedom of speech. I will not change mine. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wanted to talk to you a little bit. Gina, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you've been probably following the news over the last 24 hours, and this story is really getting some traction, really starting to get some legs, but Karl Rove has made claims, and I have 4 different sources here this morning, from Newsmax to Media Matters and many other stories, that Hillary Clinton, when she fell earlier in the bathroom. Remember when she had that little fall? We all laughed and scoffed at it, and then she was in the hospital, in and out of the hospital and everything. Now there are claims, and I'm not making this up, you can check it out yourself, that Hillary Clinton suffered a traumatic brain injury.
Mm-hmm, I'm reading it, yeah.
You're reading it. And the glasses that she has been wearing since that time suggest that there was a brain injury, because those glasses supposedly were given to her because of double vision, etc. She suffered this fall December of 2012, over a year ago. The official diagnosis was a blood clot that had formed behind her ear. And everybody is kind of poo-pooing this off and saying, oh, nothing at all. But there are varied degrees of this report saying that she spent so much time in the hospital. Others are saying she spent longer. Others are saying that it was much more serious for a potentially, and I'm quoting right now, potentially life-threatening blood clot. Now, my point is this. Yes, a lot of people will be saying politics. Yes, a lot of people will be criticizing Karl Rove for bringing this up. But if she, at the age of 69...
66.
No. At the age of 69, listen to what I'm going to say. She will be 69 if she retains and gets the presidency.
Right.
And at that age, we should have a full disclosure of everything that has happened to this woman, as we have with other presidents, whether it's Reagan, whether it's Carter, whether it's Bush, whomever. And this has been kind of pushed under the table, and nobody's really hearing all the facts. And this needs to come out as to how serious the quote-unquote traumatic brain injury really was or is.
Right. Of course, the Democratic side is saying that Karl Rove is speaking on business that he doesn't know of, according to the reports that I just read. But truly, the only people that really know are Hillary and her doctor.
But that's not right for the American people.
No, but her doctor can't say anything because of the Hippocratic Oath.
No, but then they always check all the health reports on every single doctor. As a matter of fact, think back to John McCain when he was running. They went through every single thing that happened to him when he was in a Vietnamese prison during Vietnam era and checked out everything to see if he was qualified health-wise to be the President of the United States. And that is something that needs to be done in this case with Hillary, because now there are stories coming out that the injury, the blood clot, and the post-injury with the glasses and everything else, and her speaking habits and everything, it may be serious, much more serious than what we've been led to believe.
Right, and I will still stand firm to this. I honestly don't think that Hillary is going to be their nominee for the presidency when that actually comes around.
Well,
I don't think that they're going to pick her. I don't think so.
I'll stand behind your right to disagree with the conglomerates, but I don't know. I think that she is being considered as a shoo-in. At that time, I guess at this juncture, it would be my position to say, okay, who else have the Democrats groomed to possibly take over the list?
Elizabeth Warren.
And that would be absolutely shameful.
My prediction, that's what it's going to be, whether we like it or not. But I think now that all of these medical issues are coming up, the Democratic side is going to probably step back and think, maybe we ought to reconsider this. And then the next in line for that would be Elizabeth Warren.
And then in that case, I would have to say, and a lot of people will think I'm crass and very unprofessional in saying this, but it's the truth. You know this because of the story matter that we've talked about. Elizabeth Warren has been proven to be a liar.
Yep. Well, so is Obama.
Dingo.
So I don't think that really plays a fact. The lying factor, I honestly don't even think that makes the list of criteria as far as being a negative for the Democratic side.
And it's interesting to hear you say Elizabeth Warren, because I did quite a bit of research on the lady about 2 weeks ago, and we had it on our program. As to remember when I said that many newspapers, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, and others, all of a sudden they came out with these great big op-eds glorifying Elizabeth Warren, and none of them, not one of the stories, remember when we had this on the air, ever talked about her lying about her Native American blood.
No, they did. And honestly, when we were talking about that particular point, I had to do some pretty extensive research as to even find out about that. And you really kind of have to dig to find out any news about her actually lying about her.
It's been covered up.
It has.
It's been covered up. Something else that's been covered up is a lot of my commercials. I got to get back to those. So stand by. We'll talk about this a little bit more in a moment. But right now, I want to remind everybody about Ramsey Heating and Electric. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. All the lights. Go to the light. Go to the light. They've got all the lights. They've got all your incandescent light bulbs. They bought a whole bunch of them. And then they've got your outside lighting, lamps, CFL bulbs. They've got it all for you at Ramsey Heating and Electric, along with cords, extension cords, cord ends, fuses, everything. So please stop in or call ahead at 678-0459. They'll have your order waiting for you at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. There's a gentleman running for Minidoka County Sheriff. His name is Ken Menzel, and he wants your vote on May 20th. And as a matter of fact, they're going to have a candidate get-together with Ken Menzel this Thursday, May 15th, from 7 to 9 at the Paul City Office Fire Station, right across the road from West Minico Junior High. That's going to be this Thursday, May 15th, from 7 to 9. Ken wants your vote. He wants to enforce the law based on respect for individual rights and a commitment to the safety of each citizen, and maintains a high ethical and performance standards for himself and the entire staff. Ken Menzel from Minidoka County Sheriff on May 20th, paid for by Elaine Stevenson, Treasurer. Lots and lots of political news coming up over the next couple of days up till the 20th. Don't miss any of it. Another person that we want to acknowledge this morning good friend of this program. For the last 4 years, Joe Larson has worked tirelessly for Cassia County as county clerk with nearly 35 years' experience as a businessman in Mini-Cassia. Joe is a solid advocate for the taxpayer, and believe me, believes local government should operate frugally and responsibly. Cassia County benefits from consistent and experienced leadership, and Joe Larson wants your vote on May 20th. Re-elect Joe Larson for Cassia County Clerk, paid for by the Re-elect Joe Larson Committee. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, I've got to get this in because this doesn't happen very often. As a matter of fact, I can't remember the last time it did happen. I have been a Chicago Cubs baseball fan since I was a wee little boy and loved Ernie Banks and Ron Santo and Billy Williams and all those guys. Well, last night the Cubs played the Cardinals. And I know you better be sitting down for this if you're a baseball fan, because this does not happen at all with the Cubs, especially as lousy, underline the word lousy, as they are. They are in last place, and deservedly so. They beat the Cardinals last night 17-5. Let me say it again, because I don't think I'll ever say that again in my lifetime. They beat the Cardinals. That's okay, but the score 17-5. Now, why in the world they didn't save some of those runs for other games? Because they've been either shut out or get one here, two here, whatever. I have no idea. But whatever happened to those guys last night, those guys that can't hit, can't pitch, can't catch, can't turn a double play, holy buckets, they won last night 17-5. Holy cow. Travelube Supply, 1050 West 203 south of Heyburn, 438-8730. Oh my goodness, they can clean your air filters and save you a lot of money. They've got the metric and the standard bolts and the bolt bins. They can keep you filled up, and they've got all the tools and the oils and the hydraulic hoses. I'm telling you, everybody, they get the job done for you. Travelube Supply, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. You call them today. It's time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems and, of course, the gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps, all for your family's enjoyment and comfort through Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Here now, the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
A cool and damp spring has prolonged melting of an above-average mountain snowpack throughout much of Idaho. Consequently, water managers are optimistic they'll draw natural flow right from rivers much longer than normal, potentially contributing to strong storage carryover into 2015. Recent storms pushed river watersheds of the Clearwater Basin to 200% of normal as of May 12th. In the upper Snake System, tributaries in the Wyoming ranged from 169 to 178% of normal snowpack. With so much snowpack still in the mountains, officials will be monitoring melt rates and storage levels due to the potential for high river flows. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Thank you very much, Lennox Home Comfort Systems, through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And my right arm girl, Gina, right there, these good words for Governor Butch Otter.
Out here, we live by a simple code. We stay true to our family, our friends, our community, true to our values. Governor Butch Otter has been true to us, true to Idaho's conservative values. I'm Governor Butch Otter. I know that sticking to Idaho's values gets results. That's why so many things that I've set out to do have been accomplished. I kept my promise to provide tax relief to the people of Idaho. It was long overdue, and I've shown that we can run the state on a balanced budget. Butch cut our taxes by $150 million, helping individuals and families. Butch is fighting to take control of Idaho's water quality standards from the EPA. And even though critics said it couldn't be done, Governor Otter balanced our budget without raising taxes. There's no doubt about Governor Otter's conservative values and who he serves. He serves us. There's still a lot of work to be done.
I need your vote on May 20th, and I'll keep working hard and staying true to our Idaho values.
Paid for by Otter for Idaho, Cordell Chuck Brown, Treasurer.
Thank you very much. Hey, you know, along with the Karl Rove story this morning about Hillary Clinton, the voters should know everything about what happened in December of 2012. You know, with claims like there was brain damage, claims that there was much more serious with a blood clot than they thought. That's one story this morning. Now, here's something else, and I'm trying to hurry and scurry in to get as much of these as I can this morning. My dear friend Randy Austin, and by the way, calls are welcome. Please give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I guess one of the questions I'd ask you this morning is, are you concerned about Hillary Clinton and possibly the cover-up of this fall, this blood clot, this damage, possibly to the brain, etc.? And what are your concerns? Give me a call on that. But here's something else that you need to be aware of. My dear friend Randy Givens down in Austin, Texas, he's a political science professor, and he's right on top of things. He sent me a story that absolutely makes me just madder than heck because of all the cuts that have gone on to our military. You know, they're almost like sticking our guys out in the field with lesser equipment. Well, the Obama administration, listen to this, is going to spend $20 billion. 20B with a billion on helicopter programs to replace Obama's private fleet of 23 choppers. But this is what I don't understand. The helicopters won't be ready to go until 2022. These are at a cost of $870 million each. And each new helicopter will cost more than Air Force One. Can you believe this? And a former senior Pentagon official said for the price, the new aircraft should have a solid gold toilet in each one, except that it would add too much weight. And that is strictly a quote from one of the Pentagon officials. $870 million each. And they're going to be upgrading their helicopter program, but they won't be ready until 2022. There's an undercurrent and a hidden message there. You think about it. The contract is being given to Sikorsky Aircraft Corporation, and it will be $1.2 billion just for the engineering and the pre-manufacturing development phase. $20 billion with a B dollars total to upgrade the helicopter staff. Whoa! Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's have this word for Mike Simpson, and then I'll take some of your calls. Please give me a call, 436-2244.
Personal injury lawyer Brian Smith is trained to say anything to win. Yet Idaho newspapers called Brian Smith's negative attacks against conservative Republican Mike Simpson false, patently false. Smith is using negative false attacks to hide the truth about his debt collection business that's collected millions, targeting veterans, the disabled, seniors struggling to pay medical bills. Smith's debt collection business has charged interest rates as high as 99%. 99%! One bankruptcy attorney reports Smith's debt collection business triggered as many as half of all bankruptcies filed in Bonneville County. An Idaho judge said Smith's fees were excessive. The debt collection business unconscionable. A peer called Smith inflexible, a brute, a bully. The Better Business Bureau gave Smith's debt collection business an F. False attacks, targeting the vulnerable, predatory interest rates. Personal injury lawyer and debt collector Brian Smith is out for himself, not you.
I'm Mike Simpson, and I approve this message, paid for by Simpson for Congress.
All right, thank you very much. And by the way, too, my friends at Barry Equipment and Rental, they want you to stop in because they've got everything over there, from the Walker mowers to all the Doosan loaders and excavators, Coyote tractors, the Bobcats. They've got it all. And they're also, and I want to stress this, they're still looking for some really good qualified mechanics for competitive pay, good benefits, and a good place to work, a fun place at Barry Equipment and Rental. They've got 3 locations, Addison Avenue in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and that new, really nice location right there at Highway 30 in Burley, right there, 159 West Highway 30. So stop in or give them a call, talk to them, and if you're a mechanic that wants a job at a really good place, you better talk to Barry Equipment and Rental in Twin Falls, Jerome, and Burley. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Get another story about government and our money. And this absolutely is sickening, especially after April 15th, tax day. I hope they're comfy. The IRS is spending our money again, our money on them. That's right. The IRS, and to some people they might go, oh, big deal. Well, it is a big deal. The IRS is going to spend $100 million of your money and my money on new furniture. Oh, yes, they got to be comfy. New furniture. Couches and chairs and new desks. Now, according to some of the reports that I have, they refurbished a lot of their furniture, if not all of it, in 2010. But, oh shoot, that's been now going on 4 years, so we must redo and remake with another $100 million for new furniture. Now, I don't know about you, but my couch and my carpeting have been here for quite some time. And I can't afford to make the changes, but the IRS is going to spend $100 million on new furniture, and here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Caller, stand by. They want $1.2 billion, with a B, $1.2 billion more in funding increases to handle Obamacare. Ay, 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 ay. Good morning, you're on the air.
This Clean Water Act that was formed in 1972 would, designated navigable waters. But in April of this year, there's 111,000 pages, if you can believe that, of new regulations and restrictions. And this regulations and restrictions would include, water that would created by a storm, or ditches in your farm, or your place.
Yeah.
They would stop you. You would require a permit to farm, to go till the soil, to plant, just standard, to build a fence.
Yeah, Randy, I was told the other day by a person that will remain nameless because I haven't asked their permission to use their name on the air. But I was told the other day that if I went out in one of my back pastures and just dug a little bitty hole, maybe 2 feet wide, maybe about 8-10 inches deep, and filled it with water, in short term, I would see somebody from the government come in and try to restrict or somehow say that was a private waterway or whatever. Comparable to what happened up in northern Idaho with those people that left the hose running on the property inadvertently, and they said that was water, and it was a waterway that had to be regulated by the federal government. And I don't trust the government at all.
Well, this is the thing. We are paying for these people to come and regulate this on our own property. Again, we fund the government, and it's just amazing the outright arrogance of their overreach is just is unbelievable. And to think that a ditch and a pond that is created by a storm, and then eventually you have to permit to even decide what to plant, how to plant it. Because when you open the ground, when you till the soil, you are creating greenhouse gas. Of course, we know that we breathe. When we breathe, we create greenhouse gas. And like I said yesterday, even the composting, which is an environmentally driven thing, is creating greenhouse gas. But that's a little issue that's not brought up because they're the ones who really wanted it.
Randy, every single thing you do and I do soon will be completely regulated or overseen by the government. This is not the country that you and I grew up in. I know you're a little younger than I am, but it's still not the country that you and I grew up in. It's gone way overboard. There's too much power with the EPA. There's too much regulation and government control. We have got to put a stop to this. We've got to put our foot down as people, and we're the people. We, the people of the United States, are in control, not the bureaucrats wearing wingtip shoes and three-piece suits.
Well, one more thing, and then this is my opinion, okay? But out of all the negative things I've heard out of Stimson, he is control of some of the funding for EPA. I don't know exactly what it is without researching it again, but I have heard nothing from him saying that he is going to do something about this EPA and the Clean Water Act and the overreach, and he sits in a position to do something. And I've heard nothing from it.
Well, I've got to say that I have, but there again, we're talking one individual back in a sea filled with sharks and people that want to spend. Money's no object. And you give them a dime and they'll spend $100 million. I mean, these people are nuts back there in Washington, and this administration is going crazy. You know, look at what I just reported on, Randy. Obama wants to spend $20 billion with a B dollars. I can't even envision $20 billion on a helicopter program to replace his private fleet of 23 choppers. But now, did you catch what I was saying? They won't be ready until 2022. That's scary right there. If he's going to go ahead and spend the money, he won't see any of it if he's still in office. But now, 2022, unless he makes himself a dictator, I'm a little bit worried, Randy.
I'll tell you what. Again, this is the reason why we need the people to wake up and do something. But you see, it's a great thing to have a leader who rises up and gathers the folks and inspires them to action. And we need a leader. And there are some, but none of them have come to fruition or to focus.
I agree. I agree. Well, I tell you what, don't go make a puddle in your backyard. The feds will be there in 10 minutes. See you later.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Hey, don't forget Penetron. That's no joke. That is no joke. What he said is the truth. They're almost ready to regulate everything. I guarantee you, if your little boy goes out in the backyard and digs a little hole and fills the water into the hole and floats a little sailboat, sooner or later, in the next 48, 72, whatever hours, there will be a government bureaucrat there trying to regulate it. You can bet on it. Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie has a 20-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops, speeding germination, reducing crusting, and improving stand, stimulating root growth and microbial activity. And the water savings on the irrigation water alone will pay for the cost of the product. Yes, Penetron treated crops, larger crop yields, better quality. There you go. You better contact your fertilizer dealer and crop advisor today and demand Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie. Absolutely. Oh, my goodness sakes. Let's see what else we got. We got a couple of political notes here that we want to take care of. And I want to remind you also about Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Don't forget all the gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't you go away. Speaker of the House and Representative Scott Bedke from District 27 urges you to go vote in the primary election on May 20th. Please, folks, let's show the rest of the nation that we can get the percentages out there to the polls. Scott is very concerned for Idaho and its growth and prosperity, and he wants everybody to be concerned about the future of the United States. So please exercise your patriotic duty and vote on May 20th. Stand up and let your voice be heard. Paid for by Representative and Speaker of the House Scott Bedke of Oakley, District 27. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know why they're spending all this money when all Boehner and the House of Representatives have to do is put a stop on the checkbook. If they don't approve it, it don't get spent.
Al, you've been around aircraft, and you know more about it than I'll ever know. But to say all of a sudden that you want to spend $20 billion on a helicopter program, and our military, think what the military could do right now with $20 billion.
I know they can take care of them maintenance-wise because, that's what they're trained for. But another thing that gets my tail is They want to take this so-called some kind of a fuel for $150 a gallon.
Yeah, it's the algae fuel. It's a green fuel that is very hard to process, and it's costing $150 a gallon to fill up a jet. It's right around $30,000 to $35,000 as compared to regular jet fuel that sells for $2.85 a gallon.
I know it. That's what I mean. I've seen the waste even when I was down in Texas, Bryan Air Force Base. If they couldn't use the fuel, instead of, going ahead and cut back, they took it down, and I helped do it. Take it down in a big hole and burn it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of crap that goes on, and the House of Representatives can't stop it if they'll get a decent leader.
Well, see, there you go. There's an oxymoron there, because John Boehner, I have no respect for the man. They can come out and he can cry and shed big alligator tears, and he can say what he's done here and what he's done there. But, Al, they've made liars out of themselves, and you and I have talked about this in the past. Every afternoon, I'm not saying every afternoon, but you've seen it where they go, at the end of the session, they'll go, let's go have a beer, and he sits down with all the opposition on the other side of the aisle. They're big cronies, they're good buddies. I don't want people representing me that way. I want somebody that's going to go back, and I've said this before, meaner than a junkyard dog, and fight for their constituents and not worry about the good old boys network.
Yeah. Well, I took Polly up to Albion Sunday for Mother's Day, and coming back, somebody took the canopy off of that old 594 down there at the airport. Why did they take the canopy off?
I have no idea. There are loons out in our midst, and they do stupid things.
I know. That damn thing couldn't fly when it was in service, so at least they take better care of it than that.
All right, Al. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
All right, my friend. We're going to have a weather update right now. It's brought to you by Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley. Minor emergencies, major care. They really take care of you, whether it's a break, a sprain, a strain, skin care, cuts, rashes, sore throats, coughs, whatever. They'll see you now at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley. The number 678-6996. Here is Michael Rogers weather.
Hi, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Nice weather all the way to Saturday night. That's the next time you're going to see a chance of rain in our forecast. Look for high today at 70, and each and every day as you work your way toward the weekend, it just gets warmer. You're going to see low 80s by the time you get to Saturday. Have a great day and enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. And by the way, don't forget Brad Little for Lieutenant Governor. Vote May 20th for Brad Little. Idaho is an example of what conservative governance looks like, and reflecting work ethics and values others crave around the United States. That's why we need to keep Brad Little as Idaho's Lieutenant Governor. He's an Idaho rancher and small businessman, and he wants to help Idaho raise incomes and create jobs. And yes, there's more work to do, and Brad rolled up his sleeves and says he wants to help. Remember, on May 20th, vote for Brad Little for Lieutenant Governor, and paid for by Senator Dean Cameron to re-elect Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Calls are welcome. Gina, did I hear your microphone turn on?
Yeah. I just got a quick call from one of the listeners who said that the reason why the canopy flew off of that plane up in Albion was a 60-mile-an-hour wind.
That'll make canopies fly off.
Yeah. So it wasn't that somebody maliciously vandalized it. You can thank Mother Nature.
Yeah, but you know something in accordance with what Al said, though? Mm-hmm. You know as well as anyone, because you carry the stories, whether it's on CAT or whether it's on K-Bar, the vandalism, the stupid vandalism that goes on, it just makes a person wonder why people have to go out and spray can I try that again? Spray paint, graffiti, and all this, and steal things, and burn up like in the park. You know, they'll take some of the picnic tables and destroy them. It just makes you sick as to why people have to destroy things.
Well, number one, parents didn't teach their children respect for items, for things, and for other people. And so when you get that, they don't care. They're just going to go out and tag and burn and do whatever, because they don't have any respect for their community or for their surroundings.
You know, I got to ask you, have you ever driven by McCain Foods and looked at all the rail cars?
Oh, yeah.
And all the printing, the fancy printing?
You know, some of those tags, we do have a phone call. Some of the tags I actually think are pretty cool. Some of them rather disgusting. But you want to know why they don't repaint those anymore? Is because they spend more money just trying to remove all of the tagging than they did if they just...
I agree, but I would say this, that out of all the tagging, as you call it, there is underneath, in some cases, a lot of talent where if it was applied for a job or something good in society, these guys would make a lot of money.
What I would like to see is somebody actually tag and spray paint a rail car with the United States flag.
Ooh.
That's what I would really like to see, but I haven't seen it yet.
You know what I'm afraid of? You might have just stirred the pot.
Well, you know. Pro the flag now. We've got 2 phone calls for you.
All right, we'll take one, and then I'll do a commercial break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Thank you for your call.
Is that me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you were talking about Obama and his spending spree,
yes.
Do you know the man has never earned a paycheck in his whole life?
True.
So what does he know about making money? And he's just into the spending end of it.
You know, when you're a community organizer, which basically is his only claim to fame, and you're 100% right. This man has never had to get his hands dirty. He hasn't had to clean the floors. He hasn't had to go mop up after himself. He hasn't had to do any dust work or pick up a broom or shovel out a ditch or anything. You know, I want somebody in there, president, that's kind of seen it from the common man's viewpoint. And Obama has never got calluses on his little hands.
Right. And then when you say that these new helicopters are being prepared for 7 or 8 years from now, does he expect to be in there still?
Oh, gee, Chris, you're not making an insinuation, are you?
Well, he doesn't have any other good offers for a job. Nobody would hire him. So he has to stay on the job that he can be the boss at.
You know, it does have a tendency to make a headline, and that's how it came across when Randy sent me this information from Austin, Texas. It was in big, bold letters, but it said, but they won't be ready until 2022. And it makes one wonder a little bit.
Yeah. He maybe it's going to be a Republican president by some chance. Would he want to be so nice to the opposition?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
Oh, he just loves to burn up money, and that's about what he gives me the impression of.
You got it. Chris, thank you so much for your call. I got to run. I got another one waiting. Thank you. Before I take this call, I want to remind you, Bill Baker is seeking his first term as Jerome County Commissioner, District 1, and his expertise comes from 35 years career with the BLM, where he held the position as Twin Falls District Manager and was responsible for the annual budgets of over $20 million. He's fiscally conservative and believes in keeping budgets lean and balanced, and he'll actively work toward attaining significant short-term milestones while guaranteeing meaningful economic development and stability for all the residents of Jerome County. He wants your vote on May 20th. Bill Baker as first term Jerome County Commissioner, District 1, paid for by Bill Baker for Jerome County Commissioner. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You had somebody call in about the canopy on the jet at the Burley Airport?
Yeah, no, not at the Burley Airport. It was up at Albion.
Well, no, the jet's at the Burley Airport.
Oh, okay, fine. I thought they said something.
What happened to the canopy on it was the wind blew it
Okay, all right.
And it's over at the airport. The employees at the airport, they picked it up, and it's over there, and we're looking into trying to get another one for it or whatever.
All right. Well, listen, another caller had called in, and that was already verified, and I do thank you for your call this morning. We're just doggone glad it wasn't vandalism, and I appreciate your call this morning.
It was that big windstorm we had.
Well, you know as well as I do, the wind doesn't blow in Idaho. What's the matter with you?
It's beyond repair is what it is. We're trying to find another one.
God bless you for your call this morning. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right.
People are on top of that this morning, and I respect that. I really do. Thank you. Hey, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and service is the key. Absolutely, with all the tires you need, all the best in brake service. I mean, they really care. I mean, they're running around from the time they get there in the the morning till they go home at night. I mean, run, and serving you with free lifetime tire and mileage care, free flat repairs, free tire rotations, free tire rebalancing, free air checks, free brake and alignment checks. Oh, man, the service is fantastic. The best in service and the best, of course, in front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, you name it, it's all there. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, Twist Family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow. Let's see what else have we got here real quick. I told you that the Cubs won last night 17-5. I'm still shocked about that. And this was really a despicable story. And fortunately, it got nipped in the bud. Some students at Harvard University wanted to stage a satanic mass right there at the university. And finally, at the last minute, it was canceled because of outrage from the community, civic leaders, and church leaders. Thank you. Finally, goodness stood up and prevailed. They wanted to have a satanic mass right there at Harvard. Pathetic. Well, goodness defeated evil. That's good. It's not going to happen. Even the students at Harvard, the bulk of the students said, what kind of a university is this turning into? Coming up next hour, we're going to have a gentleman that's running for Minidoka County Sheriff. Chris Jensen is here in the studio with us. And then at 9:30, we've got Joe Messina calling in. And Joe's going to be talking about the death of common sense and marriage. We're going to be talking about that. Then at 10:06 this morning, of course, we have Dr. History. And then at 10:30, our old friend, emphasis on the word old, George Mass, is going to be here. And we're going to talk to him about some of the POW-MIA awards. So we'll take a little break, be back in 6. Zeb at the Ranch, don't go away. Welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday, a good-looking day outside. Good morning, everybody. Our corporate sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, service the key right there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And our friends at Lease Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And this good word from our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all in the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia struggle.
Western Waste Services, of course, always there, always at your disposal. Give them a call at 734-6969. And don't forget, they've got the new Go Minis, portable storage units for moving, renovation, storage, emergencies, whatever. They're there to serve you at Western Waste Services. Of course, get on the route service and have your garbage picked up. It's gone. And don't forget, too, they've got all the porta potties for all the reunions and the parties and the gatherings all through the summer. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Ladies and gentlemen, also I want to remind you about our dear friend Joel Heward, manager of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Believe me, the whole family is involved in serving you. That's right, they give you family attention. And if you can't make it into their location at 710 6th Street in Rupert to talk about pre-arrangements on funerals, etc., they can travel to rural towns and churches and serve you. They can help you with all the arrangements. You don't have to drive all the way in to see them. Their staff always committed to upholding highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember this number, 436-5636. 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Gina, at this time, may we please have that good word for Governor Butch Otter.
Out here, we live by a simple code. We stay true to our family, our friends, our community, true to our values. Governor Butch Otter has been true to us, true to Idaho's conservative values.
I'm Governor Butch Otter. I know that sticking to Idaho's values gets results. That's why so many things that I've set out to do have been accomplished. I kept my promise to provide tax relief to the people of Idaho. It was long overdue, and I've shown that we can run the state on a balanced budget. Butch cut our taxes by $150 million, helping individuals and families. Butch is fighting to take control of Idaho's water quality standards from the EPA. And even though critics said it couldn't be done, Governor Otter balanced our budget without raising taxes. There's no doubt about Governor Otter's conservative values and who he serves. He serves us.
There's still a lot of work to be done. I need your vote on May 20th, and I'll keep working hard and staying true to our Idaho values.
Paid for by Otter for Idaho, Cordocha, Brown Treasurer.
Right now we're on the air with the gentleman that wants your vote on May 20th for becoming the Minidoka County Sheriff. And we say good morning to Chris Jensen. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Jeb.
Really nice to have you on the program. And 24 years in law enforcement, is that right?
That's right.
Now, what are you doing currently, Chris, as far as in law enforcement?
Right now I'm a patrol lieutenant with Cassia County. I run the patrol division. I also have some civilian employees that are under my direction. But I'm over about a $1.95 million patrol budget.
Do you have to organize, Chris, like where they go, how they get there, how long they're going to be in a certain area and everything? I mean, really, do you have to coordinate everything? Cassia County is a big county.
Yes, it is. We have our command staff. We have our, I guess you'd call it our patrol teams that work the different shifts, the different days. We've usually got a sergeant on duty that a lot of the outside stuff he coordinates. Mm-hmm. Could be one of the corporals. The deputies pretty much run their own, I would say, time, unless they're, something special or something that one of the department heads or county or something, some kind of something special they need to do.
I see. Now, as far as qualifications are concerned, you've kind of come up through the ranks with 24 years of law experience, and now you want to take another step further and become the head man and become, hopefully, the sheriff of Minidoka County. Is that right?
That's right.
Why? Why do you want to take that big leap? That seems to me like, boy, you're just adding insult to injury to be the head man.
Well, I've had a lot of people ask me that. I think it's... I've really been disappointed what's gone on in Minidoka County. It was really disturbing to me on two fronts, as a taxpayer and as a member of law enforcement. I have been asked by quite a few people to run. I've, like you mentioned, I've got the 24 years experience. I started at the bottom as a reserve, worked my way up through the ranks, into administration that I've been part of about 3.5 years now.
Chris, really, do people understand that the county sheriff, I don't care if it's this county or any county, you're the focal point, and you need to have the integrity and you need to have the leadership qualities, don't you?
That's correct.
And what about the sheriff as far as, do people really understand the duties of a sheriff? Things have changed a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, different people have different perceptions of what the sheriff's job is. A lot of it is administrative. It's dealing with personnel issues. It's dealing with budgets, with county personnel, commissioners, dealing with the public. There's a lot to it.
So you're kind of telling me that being a county sheriff today is almost like being a CEO of a company.
That's a good comparison.
Really?
Really good.
And you really have to be a people person, don't you?
Yes. You have to be able to listen. Most people that call the sheriff's office with something that's a crisis to them, so you really have to be able to listen and understand what their concerns are and try to help them any way you can.
What about Minidoka County? I mean, what are the more prevalent concerns for Minidoka County? It's a western rural county, staff, budgets, etc. What do you think about what you're going to have to do as sheriff of Minidoka County?
I've always been a person that I like to get out in the public. I like people to contact Sheriff's Office with their concerns, with their complaints. I'm very open that way. I know one of the major things, as in any area, is the drug problems anymore. I know since it just seems like the people get younger and younger that are having drug problems, that it ruins their lives.
You know, there's been a lot of talk about Denver, Colorado, and the legalizing of marijuana, which I'm going to tell you straight up, I don't think they should legalize any of this garbage. As a matter of fact, I'd like to see tougher laws for having it and distributing it, and I think the pushers ought to be buried in a pit someplace with elephant stakes. That's just my own opinion, but how bad really do you think the drug problem is here in southern Idaho?
It's prevalent. Like I say, you see a lot of young people start out with like you said, marijuana.
Yeah.
And it just goes from there. It ruins lives.
So as a sheriff, you've got to stay on top of all this with, I'm sure, attending a lot of seminars and training and teaching seminars to help give to your staff the best knowledge on how to stop this problem.
Of course.
You're right. What about gangs in this area? You know, that's a question I've often wondered. Are we kind of naive about gangs in this area of southern Idaho?
I think most people are. What we see a lot of gang activity, and a lot of it seems to stem from kids from other states that were, I guess you'd call little fish in a gang. Their parents or family send them to a relative, you know, in rural areas, thinking it'd help them. Well, they go to those areas and then they become the big fish. It's a problem.
Now, are we behind the 8 ball to the point where we can't overcome the drugs and the gang culture, or are there things that you know as a law enforcement officer for 24 years that could be implemented that would help stymie some of this?
It's a fight that'll never end. You know, we've just got to be really aggressive and combat it.
What are some of the other problems that you see that you'd like to jump in and try to solve in Minidoka County? What are some of the other things?
Well, in Minidoka County, they've been having a lot of burglaries, and a lot of that is stemmed from drugs. It's people trying to find some way to finance their drug habit. So they do a lot of stealing.
Well, let me ask you this question. When you look at the overall picture of law enforcement and the things that you'd like to bring into the office, do you think you have the staff over there, or will there have to be additions made to the staff? What do you think about the actual staff of Minidoka County Sheriff's Department right now?
I believe there's a lot of good people there. I believe they've been lacking in leadership. You know, you have to take a look and put the right people in the right place. But overall, there's a good bunch of people that work there.
You know, when you go into an office like that, you've got to literally have a kind of a public relations campaign all ready to go so that people can appreciate your personality and what you're trying to achieve. Do you have some kind of a step-by-step plan that if you're elected on May 20th that perhaps that will fill the bill?
Yeah, my thoughts on that are a lot of the deputies already know, some of them on a personal relationship, but my goal is to sit down with each and every one of them and listen to their concerns, listen to what their thoughts are, listen to what they perceive their problems, what their strengths, and kind of form a plan from that.
Now, money-wise, there's hardly anybody making any money there. I'm sure there's a lot of counties that are never going to say, we're making so much money we don't know what to do with it. What about the income or the budget for a sheriff's department like Minidoka County? Is it like pulling hen's teeth, or what do you think about the budget?
If it's like any other budget I work with, I would say yes. It's, you know, you only have a certain amount of money you have to make work, so try to do the best you can with it.
You know, Chris, one question I've had is for any and all sheriffs that I've had on my radio program. I believe that you can't be all things to all people, and you certainly can't be there in 30 seconds after a phone call for an emergency. What about training sessions for people that live in the rural areas on how to defend themselves and take care of themselves? Are you an advocate of that?
Yes, I am. We've for quite a number of years with Caddy County, we run a Citizens Academy twice a year. That's an opportunity for the public to come see exactly what we do and how we do it, participate, and it's also we use it for training. Just letting the general public listening to their concerns and letting them be part of it. I would say part of the sheriff's office.
Well, you think right now there seems to be a major approach by, let's look at former New York City Mayor Bloomberg donating $50 million to try to curtail gun usage, etc. And there seems to be an anti-NRA approach. You know, out here in the West, it's still somewhat of the Wild West to the point where we have to defend ourselves on our own property. I think people are going to have to be more cognizant that, like I said a moment ago, the police can't be anywhere, everywhere, all the time in an emergency, and we've got to learn how to take care of ourselves. So more courses like this or seminars that you could put on for the public so they understand the law and they understand what their rights are and aren't. That you need to come up with these type of things as a sheriff, don't you?
Yeah, you do. I'm that kind of leads into the concealed carry thing. I would encourage anybody and everybody that is legal to qualify for concealed carry to pursue it.
Well, explain what concealed carry is, because would you agree, Chris, that there's so many variations that somebody might not understand that they can't, even with a concealed carry permit, they can't go running wherever they want to with a gun on their hip, can they?
Right. There are some rules tied to it, like on school grounds, that type of thing. And that's what a lot of the concealed carry courses teach people.
Now, are those courses going to be available if you win the election over at Minidoka County?
Yes.
Okay, and what about the courses as far as, will you be teaching them through the sheriff's office or outside interests, or how are those handled?
A lot of private individuals, as part of a business, teach those courses. We have at the sheriff's office as just a give back to the community. Taught a few of those courses free of charge. We figure that taxpayers are the ones that usually pay for our instructors to become instructors, so we need to give back a little bit. There's been some complaints of maybe competing with the private sector in that, but firearms, that's a big part of what we do, and I don't see any problem at all in giving some of that back.
Let me ask you about an interesting part of law enforcement, and it seems like it's growing in popularity across the country, and that's the canine forces. I know that you've been involved in the canine force, the dogs.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, they're a really valuable tool. A lot of things, especially with the drug problems, the dogs help us get the probable cause to make their arrests. They're an amazing animal. I've been involved with canines since about 97.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Pretty hard to find good dogs. Is there a special breed that's necessary more so than another? I mean, tell us a little bit about the program.
If it's just a narcotics dog, some of the best narcotics dogs I've trained or been associated with have come out of dog pounds.
Really?
What we look for is just a dog with crazy ball drive that will, chase a ball forever.
Really?
When you get to protection dogs or apprehension dogs, most of those are European descents. They just have better genetics for that type of thing.
Is this a program, Chris, that you'd like to see enhanced if you become the sheriff of Minidoka County?
Yes.
And you think it's a valuable tool for the drug program specifically, right?
Yes, I do. You have to find the right person as a handler. It's not a tool that you take home, put in the closet, until you go to work the next day. It's 24/7.
Now, when you get these dogs, what about the training? Are the trainers out of the area, or do you find trainers here in this area that can work with the sheriff's department? How do you get the adequate training for these dogs?
Right now, I'm currently a trainer for the state of Idaho.
Really? I can't even get my dog to sit down and eat.
Yeah, I'm also an evaluator, so to certify dogs from around the state, they can get with me and I can run through the certification.
I see.
But as far as training, our last, I would say, 4 canines in Caddo County Sheriff's Office has been trained in-house.
So what are some of the other requirements that you see need to be directed with the Minidoka County Sheriff's Department that maybe haven't been addressed in the last couple of years? What do you see that you could add to that office?
I have to go back to the fair, honest, and consistency. I've heard a lot of complaints and biased complaints, and until a person actually gets in the driver's seat to, kind of sift through what's actually going on, you have to know where you're at before you can kind of decide which direction to go. And I've just heard a lot of. It's almost hearsay, but I've also witnessed some of it too.
So you just want to make sure that it's more transparent and open to the public to ask questions and really become more involved in the sheriff's office.
That's correct.
Okay.
We're really in Caddo County been pushing community policing, and that's deputies. Seeing somebody out in the field or whatever, irrigating, stop and talking to them, find out what their concerns are, if they have any. Just being friendly with the people.
Absolutely. So is this your first time that you've been out campaigning and trying to get a big position like this?
Yes, it is. It's been kind of interesting. I always tell everybody I know how to run a sheriff's office, but I don't know how to campaign.
Well, I'll tell you what, your honesty and your integrity show forth. What are some of the other things you want the public to know quickly? We're down to about the last 2 minutes about why they should vote for you on May 20th.
Well, I think the main thing, I want to serve the public, and I want to help Minidoka County Sheriff's Office become a better sheriff's office. I want to gain people's trust. I want to earn their respect. I just want Minidoka County Sheriff's Office to be a really positive law enforcement agency.
And once again, we'll reiterate, this is Mr. Chris Jensen, and he's running for Minidoka County Sheriff, and wants your vote on May 20th. And I'm sure that when you walk out of here, you're going to take that handkerchief out of your pocket and go, whew, I'm glad that's over, but you did a really good job, and I appreciate you being here this morning.
Well, thank you, Zeb. It's been quite the experience to be here.
Well, it's really kind of relaxed, and quite frankly, when you get into an office as messy as this one, I can make people feel like, boy, once they get out of here and follow the breadcrumbs out of the floor, they can go back into the real world. You can whip anything. So, Chris, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the program, and we'll keep stressing to everybody on our program during the next couple of days about voting on May 20th. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, have a great day. Thank you, Mr. Chris Jensen, with the opportunity to run for Minidoka County Sheriff, and he would like your vote on May 20th. Thank you very much. And my lovely bride will show you out of the studio, and thank you. I've got to stay on the air right here. And ladies and gentlemen, also, I want to have this good word. Don't forget Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that. Lennox Home Comfort Systems, with the best of gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps with Lennox. And all of that is at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. Our dear friend, Senator Dean Cameron, over in District 27, a voice of influence, a voice of caring, and a voice for getting things done. You know that, and we really appreciate the job that he has done. Dean is the highest-ranking senior member of the Senate, and he's been a senator for over 24 years, and he wants you to go vote. That's what he's really pleading for all of us, to get involved in the vote process on May 20th. He always wants to hear your ideas, opinions, and recommendations, so don't forget, Dean Cameron, Senator for District 27, urging you to go vote on May 20th, and this is paid for by Idaho Senator Dean Cameron. All right. Also, ladies and gentlemen, as I kind of gather things up here a little bit, one of our dear friends, Mr. Senator Lee Hyder, also has been on our program many, many times in the past, and I'm going to be going through my list of goodies here right now, and I'm going to tell you that Lee Hyder, the best always stand for the very best of things at the Senate and the legislature. His diligent perseverance has always been right there, and he's helped us with the authorization of the bill to hunt, fish, and trap for the future generations of Idaho. And he wants you also to remember to go vote May 20th for a man that's devoted to Idaho and serving you, and that's Senator Lee Hyder for District 24. Don't forget, the best always stand the test, and Lee Hyder is one of the very best serving us in the Senate for the state of Idaho. Vote for him on May 20th. That's Lee Hyder for Senate District number 24. Woo! Busy, busy time, and calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And again, our thanks go to Chris Jensen for being on the program this morning, running for the position of Minidoka County Sheriff on May 20th. Don't forget the Flex Steel occasional tables. All of them your choice, right there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They were voted number one for the best in furniture, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. My goodness, all the carpeting you could possibly use for your home, for your office, all the different styles of furniture with Flex Steel difference, and of course the many, many recliners, everything, and the window coverings, all the bedroom sets, and of course the beauty rest mattresses at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley, with a staff that can help you with the beautification and the comfort of your home. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are currently going to go to the phone lines in a moment and have a dear friend, Joe Messina, on our program. Stand by for that. But right now, let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, my goodness. Open Tuesdays through Saturdays. And they've got all the ATVs, all the colors, all the styles, everything ready for you, including the Can-Am side-by-sides. Great deals, rebates, and great financing along dirt bikes, 0% financing for 5 years. What are you waiting for? This is where the fun is sold. Let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. They're waiting to serve you. Going to the phone lines right now, ladies and gentlemen, our next guest on the program is going to be Joe Messina. And Joe, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you very much. I got to ask you, every time I talk to one of you guys, it's always 80 degrees here in California, even though I've got some of the loons around me, but it's always great weather. What's it like there?
Right now, I'm going to tell you what the weather is. Right here is exactly at Murtaugh. Hold on just a second. I'm going to get that pulled up, and the temperature outside currently is 50 degrees, sunshine, and we're calling for a high today of 67.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, listen, it's a lot better than what we've had the last couple of days, so we're anticipating a great day and a great week. Joe, I read a story that you had written about marriage, and I absolutely agreed with everything you read or wrote in that article. And I'll just ask you this. Is marriage and the way we respected it and the way we've treated it in the past, is it dead?
And every time I say this, people laugh at me, but traditional marriage as we know it, unless some of us stand up, is gone. I think that, based on the article I wrote, which is about 3 women that got married in Massachusetts, Now we're looking at other groups, polygamous groups now that are saying, well, look, if you've got same-sex marriage and you've got the 3 women in Massachusetts, why can't 2 men and 4 women, or 1 man and 5 women, or whatever combination you want? I mean, what is marriage really? It's a contract between people who are willing to live together, willing to love each other, and act as a family. So, to your point, yeah, I think marriage, as some of us know it, is gone. The sanctity, of 2 people loving each other, a man and a woman, as far as I'm concerned, but 2 people loving each other and bringing up a family, I think those days are over with.
Okay, but my question would be why and how? First of all, I was raised in a Christian home back in Wisconsin, and all my grandparents, great-grandparents, and my mom and dad, they had a value system. We went to church on Sunday mornings, and boy, when my sister and I did something wrong, we were punished so that we didn't do it again. We had a set of rules. Have we become such a lax society, Joe, that we can't put this thing back on the rails and eventually turn it back the way it should be?
Well, you know what it takes. It's like anything else. If your business is off course for a little while and you do absolutely nothing, it gets so bad that the damage you do in a year takes years to undo. And I think it's the same thing here. There's a lot of Christians, if you would, that have sat back and said, well, I'm not going to judge. It's live and let live. We don't want to impose ourselves on other people. But all that time, we were not allowing to live our lives. We were being imposed upon. We were being judged, as you see happening on a daily basis today. So the only way to really, really turn this around is when that core group of Christians, core group of people who understand what traditional marriage, traditional family is all about, when they decide to actually take back, we always talk about taking back America. How about we take back some of our basic principles first? When we decide to take back the family, take back basic marriage rights, then, yeah, you might start to turn it, but it's not going to turn anytime soon. Look how many more states have jumped on the same-sex marriage bandwagon. And once that happens in the state, now we get in these situations that you have in Massachusetts, again, where you have 3 women that are legally married. Now, we all kind of joke about that and go, well, no, it must have been some hooky ceremony, but it wasn't. They are legally bound, legally married in the state of Massachusetts.
One of the key points in that article that you had written, and I highlighted it, as you said, quote, society then folds under PC pressure because it doesn't want the minority to feel bad. That just kind of sums up exactly what you said. We're so concerned about political correctness right now today that we're not getting anything done. We're not standing up for our values. And I've got a slogan on this program, Joe, that I've said the way things were, the way things ought to be. We need to get back to some of the values that we had with our mom and dad.
Well, think what have we done to our kids in the education system. We've taken them. We don't want them to feel bad about not being able to spell. We don't want them to feel bad about not being able to read. We don't want them to feel bad, period. So what do? Instead of working harder with them to pull them up, we dumb down the system. We make it so. I actually had a teacher tell me about my son, don't worry about his spelling ability because we have autocorrect now on the computers. And I was about floored, saying, well, wait a minute. Are you serious? I mean, he's not going to always have a computer with him. When he's filling out an employment app at an employer, they're not going to let him sit behind a computer. So what we've done is we make excuses, and we help the kids to pass by dumbing down the situation. It's not going to save us. It's not going to help us. It's actually going to make things worse. And for those who want more control of our society, it's a perfect situation to be in. You go back to the Jim Crow days, and think about what the thought process was back then. Keep them ignorant, keep them down, we can keep control. I think that's what's happening.
The one thing that really bothers me, Joe, and I don't know how to get around this, but, since way back in 2008 with the running of Barack Obama for president, there were a lot of people that automatically came out against me, and they threw the racist term at me because I was against this man. I was against his ideology. It had nothing to do with the color of his skin because, ironically, at the same time, I was advocating for Condoleezza Rice to hopefully run for president against him. But right now, the minute you come out and say anything, whether it's against gay marriage, whether it's against the transgender lifestyle, whatever, you're labeled as a hate monger and a bigot, and they kind of pigeonhole you into that area forever. How do we overcome that?
Oh, you know what? You ignore it. I mean, you really just ignore it. Look, you know, what was it, in the movie Forrest Gump, he says, stupid is as stupid does, but he doesn't say stupid is as stupid does if you're white. Stupid is as stupid does if you're black. You know, people do dumb things. People are ignorant. People make mistakes. You know, this it's funny how this administration claims responsibility for nothing wrong. You ever notice that? They never make mistakes. They never miscalculate. They just don't do anything wrong. So, of course, if you call him on the carpet, the only reason that can be is because he's a black president. That's the only reason, not because he could possibly be doing anything wrong. But again, as I said in the article, we have to stop being politically correct. We have to watch. We don't have to watch political correctness die. We have to help kill political correctness because it's killing us. It really is. There's things we won't say to our kids. There's things we won't say to people that we work with, that we're associated with because of political correctness. When in reality, some of the comments we make, some of the things we do could actually help them. But we don't do it because of political correctness. It's so wrong. It's so detrimental to society.
Well, you know, I'm 66 years old, and I really remember all the Saturday Evening Post magazine covers with the wholesomeness of sitting in church, or the wholesomeness of having a family dinner together, the wholesomeness of Dad taking some time on a Sunday afternoon to go back out in the backyard and play some catch with the son and the daughter. And we've lost all of this in America, I think, and that's been a detriment to our society and our future generations. I think we've got to get back to it, but I'm open and readily available for anything that'll be a seminar that I can attend to help get my public, help get my audience back into that mode.
Well, look, here's a couple of things. You know, I go out to dinner with my wife, and we're sitting there at a family restaurant. Even though our kids are grown and gone, we'll be at a family restaurant and watch a family sitting at a table, and they've all got their smartphones out. Now, this is a family 3 feet away from each other, and they're talking to people that aren't at the table. This is family night. So, you know, here's some of the things we need to do. How about we get back to being families? How about we get back to having dinner together, put the phones down, you know, stick them in the other room. Let me tell you what, whoever needs to talk to you during dinner will be able to talk to you after dinner. It's really that simple. You know, get to know your kids again. Get to know your wife, your husband again. Get to know your community again. And that's the problem. We're moving so fast with these, you know, smartphones and emails and computers and everything else. And I'm in the computer world. But we use it so much that we don't get back to the personal touch. You know, political correctness is one thing, but we need to have, you know, we need to be touching each other. We need to be verbally, you know, physically, with our eyes. Think about the damage you do with a text or a tweet when you don't see somebody's body language. We really don't know what the meaning behind those words popping up on your phone are.
Absolutely.
So, how do we fix it? We start acting like families again. We start acting like human beings again. Put the phones down. Start dealing with each other face to face again.
Amen. Now, another problem I think we've got in society, and I'd like you to comment on this, Joe, is our schools. They basically are raising our kids. We get them to school so they can have breakfast in the morning because we as parents are too busy or too consumed with our own work. They stay there for noon. They have lunch at school. They stay there after school for after-school programs. They have literally supper at school. They come home, they spend an hour studying, and they go to bed. We're not raising our kids anymore.
Well, you know, here's a great shout-out to your conservative parents. So here's what you do for the most part. You take them to a liberal institution. You leave them there to be indoctrinated all day long. Think of all the things that they're getting for free. The teacher, this is a statistic all across America, the teacher is one of the most trusted members of the community. So now so you've got your kids in this institution all day long, and then they come home and you want to instill family values in them. Well, for 10 hours, in some cases, they've been instilled with all other kinds of values. So how you expect your son or daughter to thrive and grow and take on your characteristics and take on your values when you leave them with somebody all day long that doesn't hold any of your values or very few of them? That's a nightmare. And you hit it on the head. It's not even an education system anymore. Now it's a babysitting service all day long. So you can go to work. You think or you know that your child's being taken care of. that you think they're safe, you think they're being fed properly. It just, again, take control of your child's education. I serve on a school board in California. I tell people all the time, whether you have nieces, nephews, grandchildren, or kids in the system, come out to your school board meetings. Pay attention to what's going on, because you can make a difference. You put enough pressure on that school board, you'll help them come back to real strong conservative values. But if you sit home and just scream at a TV set, doesn't change anything.
Joe, let me ask you, as serving on a school board down in California, and of course there's been a lot of stories about school boards and zero tolerance, don't you think, though, that with the zero tolerance and some of the absolutely asinine decisions certain school boards have made, that they need to sit down as a board, as a school entity, and just use common sense instead of a blanket zero tolerance policy?
I will say, I'll raise my hand and say we do that. We have a solid conservative board, well, a pseudo-solid conservative board, and there's a couple of us who will speak up and go, look, the rule is if this happens, it's immediate expulsion or what have you, but let's take this case, let's look at what's going on in this case. We do that on a regular basis, but most boards don't. Most boards allow the superintendent to have so much control that you're right. You know, you have this policy in place and that's it, end of discussion, and you can't change it, which is not true, because the reality is you can take any decision to the school board and people give up too easy. You need to come back to the school board and keep coming back to you. Again, parents vote. You want to get what you want for your kids, you come back and you let that school board know, look, if you're not going to use some common sense, you can be replaced. We have an election coming up. You can be gone. And we're just so, I don't know why conservative people, I don't know why even people of God are so timid. I don't say this in a lighthearted manner, but when you think about it, Jesus was very loving. Jesus was very caring. But when they were abusing the temple, he tore up the temple, he tore up the vendors in the temple, did he not?
That's exactly right.
You sometimes you have to take action. The words don't work anymore.
But, you know, it's so easy, I think, and I've said this on my program many times, for parents to criticize school boards, parents to criticize teachers, but in essence, the first person they ought to criticize is themselves by looking in the mirror, because they're not getting involved enough to really oversee what is going into that child's head in the first place.
Oh, no, are you calling out parents? You know, it's true. Look, when I see, we have about 20 to 25 cases a month come by us where we've got a kid that's in trouble for whatever reason. And in 95% of those cases, we have parents that are totally uninvolved in their child's education and their child's discipline and that kind of thing. And you're exactly right. I mean, I don't care if it's what you're allowing your kids to watch on TV, and I know that it sounds so draconian when you start saying things like, you have to watch, keep an eye on what they're watching on TV, keep an eye on what they're tweeting, keep an eye on what they're doing, using their smartphone for. Why does a 16-year-old have to have a smartphone so they can have access to the whole world while they're sitting in class? Well, why is that? If you're concerned that your child needs the ability to get in touch with you in case of an emergency, they still have these old flip phones. They still work on today's system. They're a lot less expensive than a smartphone in purchasing and monthly fee. So, you know, parents, if you really want to help your child understand what life is about, if you really want to give them a good, solid foundation to step out on, then start looking at what you're allowing them to do. Start looking at when you support them at school. What are you supporting them in? I got parents that come in to see us. Their child has been a hellion on wheels, and they're coming in to tell us what a rough life that he or she has because both parents work. And I just want to say, I can't, but I just want to look at them and go, nobody told you that both of you have to work. Give up some of your stuff and help take care of your son or daughter. And you wouldn't be sitting here in front of me telling me about the woes of your family.
Absolutely. You know, and I got to wrap this up, but Joe, really, my mom worked a full-time job as a secretary back in the 50s and 60s. My dad had 2 jobs, and yet we had quality family time. Every night, my dad would take some time, and we'd go out in the backyard and play catch. Or on weekends, we'd go fishing, we'd go camping, we were in the horse business, we had something to do with the horses. I hate the excuse of the modern day parents saying they're too busy for their kids.
It's really not right. Look, your kids, here's what I always tell people. Your kids did not ask for you. Okay? They didn't like step up in line and say, God, I want that family right there. You made those children. You brought those children into this world. It's your responsibility to make sure they have what they need to succeed. So Spencer, and you're so right. My parents worked real hard. My mother was a full-time beautician, and then she'd come home after being on her feet all day long, and she'd cook dinner. And she'll tell you herself, she's no superstar. She's just a mom. She loved her kids and wanted to make sure we were fed properly. It's the same thing today. No matter how busy you are, if you're too busy for your kids, you need to relook at your life. You need to relook at what you're doing for work, because there's something that's out of joint there. It's not the way God intended it. And look what it's doing to the family as a whole.
Absolutely. Joe, you got to come back. I've enjoyed the conversation. I always do, and I'm certainly glad we were able to make the schedule work this morning. Joe Messina, God's blessings to you. Please come back, and we'll talk more about family situations. Have a great day, and I'll be in touch.
You too. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Joe Messina, and I really like his attitude about marriage and family and raising kids, and he's on a school board down in California, and he laid it out plain and simple. It's a lot of work between the schools and the parents. They both have a lot of responsibility. Holy cow, we've got to have the weather forecast right now, and it's brought to you this hour by our friends at, let's see, who are our friends this hour? We've got Red's Trading Post. Man, it's been a busy morning trying to keep up with everything. Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls with Ryan and the rest of the crew at 203 5th Avenue South. Don't forget all the guns, all the ammo, all the accessories right there, along with top-notch people that can help you at Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls, 733-3546. Here now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hi, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Nice weather all the way to Saturday night. That's the next time you're going to see a chance of rain in our forecast. Look for high today at 70, and each and every day as you work your way toward the weekend, it just gets warmer. You're going to see low 80s by the time you get to Saturday. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you very much. Brought to you by Ryan and the crew at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. You stop in and see those good folks today. Say, other good folks I want to remind you of, and that's Riverview Quick Care, absolutely urgent care and medical center, 382 North Overland in Burley. The number 678-6996. Minor emergencies, major care. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. Hey, I'm telling you, walk-ins are welcome, no appointments necessary. Whether it's headaches, breaks, brain strains, skin care cuts, rashes, whatever the case might be, they can help you now. Don't forget, open Monday through Saturday 9 to 9, Sundays 1 to 7. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley. Oh, it's been a busy, busy morning with all of our political advertisements and everything going up to May 20th, and I want to urge everybody on my own to please go vote on May 20th in the primaries. By the way, when you think about life insurance, think about Cameron and Siemens. When you think about health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, think about Cameron and Siemens. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, dedicated and responsive to your needs and very thoughtful and caring in their recommendations that are going to serve you and your family. So remember the best. Remember the professionals. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, 436-4424. Gina, bail me out for a few minutes. My goodness sakes, I'm really worn out from a busy and hectic schedule here this morning.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, really?
I've just been working on updating the PSA list, so you and your lovely bride should be getting another updated copy in your email here in about 30 seconds.
You know, we have had so many nice people do so many good things for us here since I had that surgery back in January. A lot of caring and a lot of concern, and I had a lady yesterday say, well, you never talk about it. How are you doing? Well, to be honest with you, I've got exactly 11 days left. 11 days left on the blood thinner for the blood clots, and the sciatic nerve, thanks to some physical rehab and also a lot of stretching and massaging, that sciatic nerve is diminishing somewhat to the point where I can at least get around without gritting my teeth and having my eyes sweat. And so we're getting better. We're getting better.
You know what we forgot to do this morning?
Tip of the coffee cup.
Yes, sir.
And you know who I'm going to give the tip of the coffee cup today? I'm going to give it to Mr. and Mrs. Jeff May, and that name might not sound familiar to you, but it will if I tell you the name of Kilt Man.
Ah, absolutely.
There you go.
Yes.
So a tip of the coffee cup to the Mays, Mr. and Mrs. Jeff May, better known as Kilt Man. There you go. Let's have a big slurp, shall we?
That is so good.
There you go. Thank you. That is the worst sounding slurp of a coffee cup that I have ever heard in my life.
You know, normally when people sip coffee, that sounds more like soup than it does coffee.
Yeah, it does. And, you know, in the morning, now here's what we do here, and then I'll do a commercial break. I love my coffee just piping hot. I mean, so hot you can't even take a slurp of it. And what Deanne does is we make the instant coffee because we don't have time to put it in a coffee maker and everything. Okay. And then she'll take it, from the stove, mix up the coffee, and then stick it in the microwave.
For another, 30 seconds?
It is, it's so hot you can't hardly hold on to the cup.
Why do you want to do that to your taste buds? I mean, really.
I love hot coffee in the morning. I just love to sit there and hold it, and if the morning's just a little bit chilly, I take that cup of coffee and I stick it up against my fat little tummy, and it warms me up. That's why I do it.
Well, that makes sense. So, when I drink coffee, we just run it through the regular old coffee maker, and a lot of times I'm not even waiting until it's done out of the coffee maker. I'll just stick my cup underneath there with the coffee creamer in it and just wait for it to fill up.
Man, you're one of those that if you could do it intravenously, you probably would.
I probably would. But, my limit is I like to have 2 big cups of coffee. So my 2 cups of coffee is a normal person's.
There's been a lot of studies, though, Gina, lately, and I'm going to do a little coffee segment. I think it's scheduled about 2 weeks or so. Okay. But now they're coming out and they're finding out. Remember all the bad people said that, all the bad things people said about coffee, you shouldn't drink it and everything. Now they're turning around and they're changing their tune, and they're saying that you should at least have 2 cups of coffee per day. It's good for the system.
It is good for the system. It's got antioxidants in it. It helps wake you up, and you don't want to know me without my coffee in the morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can attest to that. I do know her. I do know that when you make that call at 5 minutes to 8 over at the studio, you expect a friendly voice. Contraire. Sometimes you have a female bear over there.
And that's usually the days when I'm out of coffee. Yeah, those are not good days.
Does Kim Lee, the owner of the station, know the other side of this Jekyll and Hyde that resides over there?
He probably does, but he's learned a long time ago, don't call me that early in the morning.
Really? I noticed that Jerry Thaxton has his own door going into the engineering because he doesn't want to go by your studio.
He does a lot of times, he'll close the K-Bar studio door, and then he'll close his door as well.
There is a little chair, it's a little tin chair, and tied to the chair is about a 10-foot bullwhip, and they use that to go by your studio in the morning.
It's called self-protection.
Hey, we've got to have this word from Mike Simpson. We'll be right back.
Personal injury lawyer Brian Smith is trained to say anything to win. Yet Idaho newspapers call Brian Smith's negative attacks against conservative Republican Mike Simpson false, patently false. Smith is using negative false attacks to hide the truth about his debt collection business that's collected millions, targeting veterans, the disabled, seniors struggling to pay medical bills. Smith's debt collection business has charged interest rates as high as 99%. 99%! One bankruptcy attorney reports Smith's debt collection business triggered as many as half of all bankruptcies filed in Bonneville County. An Idaho judge said Smith's fees were excessive. The debt collection business unconscionable. A peer called Smith inflexible, a brute, a bully. The Better Business Bureau gave Smith's debt collection business an F. False attacks, targeting the vulnerable, predatory interest rates. Personal injury lawyer and debt collector Brian Smith is out for himself, not you.
I'm Mike Simpson, and I approve this message, paid for by Simpson for Congress.
Thank you very much, and don't forget, too, our dear friend, Representative for District 27, Fred Wood. Representative Fred Wood wants you to remember, please go and vote on May 20th. He encourages everybody to get out and vote and show that you care and are willing to take charge charge of your future. Fred has always listened and worked hard for the people of District 27, protecting Idaho's water, creating a positive economic environment. This man has been a great representative for the state of Idaho out of District 27. Representative Fred Wood, and he wants you again to vote on May 20th. Paid for by Fred Wood for House Seat 27. We are, I got to rest for a few minutes. I mean, this has been a morning to remember getting everything in, and I appreciate all your patience out there in this busy time of politicals, getting ready for the primaries. And coming up next hour, we're going to have a dear friend of ours, George Mass, and he's got some guests with him this morning. Kind of a Beauty and the Beast type segment. George, of course, the Beast, and then we're going to have the Beauty here also, and that's coming up this next hour. And we're just going to say thank you very much for tuning us in. We'll be back in 6 minutes. Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, my, on a Tuesday morning. Good morning. I'm Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, and they are Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And, of course, Lee's Furniture is teamed up with also Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly and the crew, 734-6969. Before we have our guest on the air, one of my favorite people, Dr. History, in just a moment. Stand by. But today at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley, they got Jimmy the Greek. Why did I say Jimmy the Greek? It's a Greek pita sandwich. Well, it might be made by Jimmy the Greek. You never know. Greek pita with choice of potato and super salad. And this is good at the Chadwick Sports Grill. The menu's fantastic. People are great, and you're going to love the environment. Super fun time. Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. By the way, every Thursday we have a segment on our program called School Days in Cassia County, and I want to say thanks to A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They've got a big spring cleaning sale going on right now, 20% off entire purchase, and a great place to buy toys and puzzles and books for birthdays, and all the gift wrapping is always free, and they got all kinds of specials in there for the whole family. So you just stop in and see A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. And also, they're teamed up with the Ambulatory Surgery Center. Continues to be the area's best place for outpatient surgery, saving people hundreds of dollars, plus receiving outstanding friendly care. The Ambulatory Surgery Center, the best for colonoscopies, arthroscopic knee surgeries, hand surgeries, many more, at the best Ambulatory Surgery Center, and the number 677-8888, located on 1344 Highland Drive in Burley. Both of those great businesses, Child's World in Burley and the Ambulatory Surgery Center, bringing you, of course, School Days in Cassia County. Real quick, we're going to have this word for Congressman Mike Simpson, and then time for Dr. History.
Personal injury lawyer Brian Smith is trained to say anything to win. Yet Idaho newspapers call Brian Smith's negative attacks against conservative Republican Mike Simpson false, patently false. Smith is using negative false attacks to hide the truth about a debt collection business that's collected millions, targeting veterans, the disabled, seniors struggling to pay medical bills. Smith's debt collection business has charged interest rates as high as 99%. 99%! One bankruptcy attorney reports Smith's debt collection business triggered as many as half of all bankruptcies filed in Bonneville County. An Idaho judge said Smith's fees were excessive, the debt collection business unconscionable. A peer called Smith inflexible, a brute, a bully. The Better Business Bureau gave Smith's debt collection business an F. False attacks, targeting the vulnerable, predatory interest rates. Personal injury lawyer and debt collector Brian Smith is out for himself, not you.
I'm Mike Simpson, and I approve this message, paid for by Simpson for Congress.
Well, thank you very much. And by the way, Ken Menzel from Minidoka County Sheriff wants your vote on May 20th. Ken Menzel, of course, enforcing the law based on respect for individual rights and a commitment to the safety of each citizen, and promotes a culture within the Sheriff's Office of hard work, integrity, and service that creates a safer environment for all the residents and guests to live in Minidoka County. So once again, he's asking for your vote on May 20th. Ken Menzel for Minidoka County Sheriff, paid for by Elaine Stevens Stevenson, treasurer. Oh, my goodness, he knows he's chomping on the bit and waiting to go. Good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
I'm running late as usual, but I can't help it. Good morning.
That's good. I got a good story for us today.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Okay, Andy Adams. Nobody's ever heard of this guy, but he was a herder on the cattle drive from Texas up into Montana.
Mm-hmm.
This is a first-hand account that he wrote in his book, and so this is going to be a first-person story.
All right.
Okay. Now, before we get started, as you think of cattle drives, what do you think is probably the most dangerous thing that would happen on a cattle drive?
Stampede.
Stampede. I mean, you think of Indians and floods and all that other stuff, but stampede was the number one. So here we go. They had picked up their cattle down in Texas, and they were running through Texas. They ran through what's called the Runnin' W and the Laurel Leaf ranches. I don't know if you've ever heard of those.
Runnin' W I have.
Okay. Well, he says that we were nearly a week passing through their cattle ranches.
Mm-hmm.
They also learned that there were 3 trail herds ahead of them, each with 3,000 head each, and they were already started north, and there behind them was 4 more with 3,000 head each. So they're kind of in the middle of, 7 big, huge herds of cattle.
Okay.
So he says, so far we've been having splendid luck in securing water for the herd once a day at least, and oftentimes twice and three times. He said our herd was becoming well trail broken by this time, and for range cattle, they had quieted down and were docile and easy to handle. Now, stampedes were generally due to negligence in not having the herd full of grass and water on reaching the bed ground at night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he says if care has been used for the first few weeks in properly breaking the herd to the trail, though hunger and thirst are probably responsible for more stampedes than all other causes combined, it basically is the unexpected that can't be guarded against.
You know, it's really true with humans, too. Look out for the smorgasbord if I see it.
That's right. A stampede is the natural result of fear, whether it's a smorgasbord or wherever. But and at night, or if it's just becoming light or dark, but a flash of lightning, a peal of thunder, the stumbling of a night horse, or even the scent of some wild animal would just in a moment's time, the frightened herd would just infect the whole herd as to throw them into the wildest panic. Now, amongst the thousands of herds like his, which were driven over the trail during its brief existence, none ever made the trip without encountering more or less trouble from what they called them runs, or we call them a stampede. But frequently a herd became so spoiled in this manner that it grew into kind of a mania with them, so that sometimes they would get to where they would just stampede for no reason at all, or just with the slightest disturbance. They'd just take off. So anyway, he says we were beginning to feel a degree of overconfidence in the good behavior of our herd when one night during the 3rd week out, an incident occurred in which they displayed their running qualities to our complete satisfaction. He says it occurred about 2 o'clock in the morning. The night was an unusually dark night, and the atmosphere was very humid. John Officer, one of the other guys, and I were riding around the herd when John's horse suddenly struck a gopher hole with his front feet, and in a moment, horse and rider were both sprawling on the ground. Now, the accident happened just a few yards from the sleeping herd, which instantly came to their feet, and they were off like a flash. Now, Andy was riding a really good horse that he really liked, and he says as the cattle headed towards me, he said I had to use his spurs to keep clear of the onrush of cattle. And fortunately, he said we had clear country near the bed ground, and while the terrified cattle pressed me close, my horse kept the lead. Now, in the rumbling which ensued, he said I was not alone. By seeing several distant flashes from 6 shooters on one side and on the other, he realized that he also had a gun, and he fired it several times in the air to reply, which told him that, like I say, other guys were out there trying to help. Now, the wagon was camped about 200 yards from the bed ground, and so help would come to us as soon as the men in camp could reach their horses. Now, realizing that the wide front of the running cattle, John to the left and myself to the right to point the leaders in order to keep the herd from splitting or scattering, And then another rider, he got into the middle or in the center, in the lead of the herd. Now, this is a little bit of a dangerous thing. There are stories told of guys that got caught in the middle of a stampede, and basically when they found them, there was really nothing left.
Absolutely.
The guy,
Mm-hmm.
you can just imagine.
Yes.
But anyway, he says, I saw a succession of flashes like fireflies, which told me that the boys were coming to our assistance. Now, he says, running is not a natural gait with cattle, and if we could only hold them together and prevent splitting up, in time they would get tired, and the rear cattle would gradually catch up with the leaders. And he said all we could do is hope was to force them to run straight. And in this respect, they were succeeding, though really in the dark it was pretty much a guess. And they'd gone about a mile, he figures, and the remainder of the outfit were coming up to help out. But he soon realized that they had only turned a few hundred head out of about 3,000. And so Andy, like I say, he's the one telling the story. He said what they did was they stretched out a line until there was a man about every 20 feet, and they were trying to turn the herd, but it didn't take long for the cattle to go right between the men and the riders, and so we had people scattered all over and cows scattered all over. So he says there was 5 or 6 of us that we had a herd, and we circled the front of the herd, and for a third time, he said, we repeated the tactic in trying to turn the stampede. You see, we were attempting to turn them slowly on a much larger circle, and suddenly in the dark, we encountered a mesquite thicket into which the lead cattle tore with a crashing of brush and a rattle of horns. And at this point, there was no time to hesitate. He says, for our horses were in the thicket, and with the herd closing in on us, there was no alternative but to go through it, every man for himself.
Oh, boy.
Now, I've never seen a mesquite thicket. I think you have.
I have been down in Texas quite a bit, and I don't know how in the world you could ever run through one of those mesquite thickets and not come out looking like frayed paper.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get to that here in a minute. Basically, Andy said, I gave my horse free rein. He says, I shut my eyes, clutching both cantle and pommel to hold my seat. And he said the black horse responded and tore through the thicket in places higher than my head. And he says, I came out in an open space considerably in the lead of cattle. So here he is. At this point, he says, being alone and not knowing which way to turn, I rode to the front and found myself in the lead of a pretty good string of cattle. So at this stage of the run, we had no idea where the rest of the outfit was. The herd had scattered on leaving the mesquite thicket, and were possibly then running in a half a dozen bunches like the one that we were with. Now, at this point, he says he was in front of about 50 or 60 big steers in the lead, and they'd take their 6-shooters, and they would kind of shoot right in front of the cows, the steers, to try to get them to turn. But he said we soon finally had them milling around in a circle, and at this point they were able to rest their horses. He said once we had them milling, our trouble as far as running was concerned was over, but all the 2 of us could do is kind of let them mill around in a circle and try to exhaust themselves. And at that point, all I could do is wait till daylight. Well, by the time dawn came, there was a heavy fog cutting off their view, and so they still really couldn't see much. But as the light of day brightened, he says we saw the cattle kind of quiet down and go to grazing, and as though they'd just gotten up from a good night's rest. But after the fog had lifted, he said we kind of got an idea where we were, and they fired a number of shots in the air of hope for getting an answer from some of the other guys in the outfit, but they had no response. Well, they couldn't determine their location, whether they'd run east or west or south during the night. None of them knew. He said, all we did know is we had between 600 and 700 head of cattle. Now, the guy that was with him when they went through the thicket, through the mesquite, he'd lost his hat, and he said, I had one sleeve missing, both outside pockets torn out of my coat, and while the mesquite thorns had left their marks on the faces of both of us, it was just amazing that they had made it through.
I can't imagine going through that kind of an environment and not coming out without being ripped to shreds.
Right. Well, and the one cowboy, he said he'd bought some leggings about 10 years prior, and he said this is the first time that they ever really came into to helping him out.
Absolutely.
So anyway, after riding several miles, they sighted another band of cattle, and they found 2 other cowboys holding some cattle there, and Anyway, he continued to ride, and they were soon on the trail of another herd of stampeded cattle. But and obviously the signs left by running cattle were pretty easy to follow. The ground being pretty well torn up. And anyway, as he was riding, he made out a large band of cattle, and finally he saw their chuck wagon, and he rode for the herd. And at this point, they had about 1,200 of their little over 3,000 cows gathered up. Well, at this time, you can imagine they've been riding since 2 o'clock in the morning, and they really needed to change horses, but they really didn't have time to. And so, and again, they were at this point, they were hungry, they were thirsty, hoping to get something to eat. But at this point, the foreman's mind wasn't on eating or drinking; it was getting those cattle rounded up.
Absolutely.
And he said, as we went along, he said we did manage to encounter the wagon and got a drink of canteen of water. So, but then he said after riding another mile or so together, we separated. We started throwing two bunches together, and we soon sighted the main herd. We saw across to our right about 5 miles away another small bunch coming in. And, you know, again, in an emergency like this, the foreman would never give thought to anything but getting the cattle. I mean, the comfort of the men didn't mean anything. In fact, he says men were cheap, but cattle cost money.
That's exactly right.
So he said we reached the camp about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we found the outfit cutting out range cattle, which had been absorbed into the herd during the night. Now, this is something maybe people don't realize, but there's a lot of strays out there, and in the course of a stampede, you're going to gather up some extra cows. So at this point, they were trying to cut out the stray cows that weren't in their herd. And again, they didn't change horses yet, and nothing was talked about for eating and drinking. And they cut out several hundred cattle that weren't theirs. And the count showed that they were, about a little over 300 cows still missing. So he says as we had been in our saddle since 2 o'clock in the morning, it was needless, to say that their appetites were pretty good. And so at this point, finally, they did get something to eat. And the dinner was quickly over, and they did manage to get some fresh horses. And they were left with orders for the outfit to start marching and try to find the rest of the cows. So at this point, they finally found the trail of the missing cattle. And they were only really about a mile or so away from them. And so they gathered them all together. And again, they cut out the range cattle. They made a count. And now they had everything there. They had all the cattle returned to the herd.
Wow, now that is unusual after a major stampede.
Right, and he says basically they figured that the some of the herds had actually run 20 miles.
Yep.
So, he said we finally reached a river called the Atascosa, and after holding the cattle on the water for an hour, they grazed them and the remainder of the evening. And of course, at that night, every precaution was taken to prevent a repeat of the run before. And he said our best horses were chosen for night duty because our regular ones were too spent, too exhausted. And he said we went into camp for the night, and the next morning our herd just grazing in peace and contentment on the flowery plains.
Isn't it interesting, though, Doc, that even today, the American cowboy, and he's a legend, he's a folk hero, he's looked up to and revered, but the life of the actual working cowboy back on the range and on those trail drives, boy, it wasn't pretty.
No. Well, and again, I don't know how many nights you'd get to sleep before your turn came up to ride the herd during the night. So these guys didn't get a lot of sleep.
No.
And here again, and I'll talk more about this at a later time, but the cook was a pretty important guy. There's a picture, I think it's by Remington or one of those guys that shows a chuck wagon and a cowboy standing there with his horse, and the horse is reaching over to bite a biscuit. Have you seen that?
Oh, yes. I've got it here in my studio.
Okay. According to this guy, that would never happen. You did not bring your horse anywhere near the cook.
That's very true. And, there was a lot of things. The cook, basically, you didn't cross him. That was the dumbest thing you could ever do if you crossed the cook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was your main man, and you wanted to stay on his good side.
Yep.
So, but, it's interesting, too. They usually had about 150 horses, in the remuda. And I found it interesting that the 15 or 20 guys, as they would pick out horses, they didn't like colored horses, like black and whites or, paints, any of those different colors. The plain, dark, the roans, the bays, stuff like that. They thought that the colored horses were stupid. And
well, in some cases, in my past history of owning some, I'm not going to disagree with that statement.
I agree. I mean, I've been around some horses that I thought were pretty stupid as well, and it didn't matter what color they were. But
no, I tell you what, I really, when you talk about trail drives and you talk about the boring and the heat and the dust and the choking on the dust and the ride and the drag and the cookie, the chef. Remember Rawhide, that TV series?
Oh, you bet. That was a great show.
It really was. And Gil Favor and Rowdy Yates and Old Mushy and Wishbone was the cook. Boy, I'll tell you what, the guy that played that part of Wishbone, Paul, and I can't think of his last name right now all of a sudden. I want to say Mullins, but that's not the case. Paul Brinegar, that was his name. He was the actor. And he did a great job portraying the ornery old cook on a trail drive, because that's what they were.
Well, keep in mind that this guy's up earlier than everybody, cooking breakfast, making coffee, and then after the cowboys leave, he's got to clean everything up, pack up the chuck wagon, and then, of course, take it on some pretty rough ground to stay up, and then, of course, he's got to get there ahead of time and set up camp and cook dinner for the guys. So, yeah, you didn't want to cross this guy. And I can see, again, why they could have been a little bit cantankerous.
Absolutely. Now, listen, folks, this is really important because Dr. History is now available for you to listen to on podcasts. Isn't that right, Dr. History?
Yes, they can go to my website and listen at www.doctor, and then you got to put in a little dash. History.com, doctor-history.com, and every week this story will probably be on by tomorrow evening on there, and of course they can go back. I think there's about 13 stories on there now that they can listen to, and every week we'll add a new one.
Right after we get through the political season next week, we're going to really start hammering that home for everybody around the United States to listen to, but I certainly appreciate it. Dr. History or I should say Dr-History.com. There you go. I've only said it 1,000 times. And better known as Dr. Ken Turner, thank you so much for being on the program this morning.
You bet. You have a good day, Zeb.
God bless you, man. Thank you.
Bye.
Once again, folks, Dr-History.com, and you can listen to those podcasts. Hey, don't forget Brad Little for Lieutenant Governor. Vote May 20th, and Brad wants your vote, absolutely, for staying in office as Lieutenant Governor. He knows a good education is the key to building a skilled, progressive workforce here in the state of Idaho, and he also is a rancher and a small businessman, and he wants to help Idaho raise incomes and create jobs. Brad Little for Lieutenant Governor. Vote May 20th, and he'd appreciate your vote. This ad paid for by Senator Dean Cameron to re-elect Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, we're going to send it back over to our main studio, so stand by for that. I also want to remind you about Vicky's Country Gardens. They have a program on the program with me every Thursday at 9:12. Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 west of Paul, and the program is called Gardening for Idiots. Well, it's named after me, but all your gardening needs, everything is right there with a lady that really knows gardening. Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens. Stop over to 185 South, 600 west of Paul, or call them at 438-5663. Along with that, I also want to remind you about our dear friend, and that, of course, is Mr. Bill Baker. And Bill is running for a first term as Jerome County Commissioner, District Number 1. His government experience and expertise comes from 35 years career with the BLM, where he held the position of Twin Falls District Manager and was responsible for the annual budgets of over $20 million. He's got the time to obligate and the ability to serve the residents of Jerome County with objective and educated educated views, and he is committed to having the best and most efficient government they can in Jerome County while living within their means. So once again, remember, Bill Baker seeking a first term as Jerome County Commissioner, District 1, paid for by Bill Baker for Jerome County Commissioner. We're going to take a little break for about 2 minutes and be right back after this break from our main studios. Stand by.
And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And now I'll say, don't forget Senator from District 25, Jim Patrick, local farmer for over 40 years and a great legislator for the state of Idaho. Jim has a deep understanding of water issues due to personal history on the Salmon Tract, and he knows how to solve water problems. He is a voice that needs to be heard. Get out and vote on May 20th and let your voice be heard for Senator from District 25, Jim Patrick. And, of course, this man very responsible for the Ag Security Bill, and we thank him for all of his effort during our legislative sessions. Vice Chairman of the Commerce and Human Resources and on the Agricultural Affairs and Education Committee, a man that's been a real benefit for us. Senator Jim Patrick from District 25, paid for by Jim Patrick for Senator, District 25. Also, real fast, I want to remind everybody about Chris Jensen is running for Sheriff of Minidoka County, and he wants your vote on May 20th. Chris Jensen, 24 years in law enforcement, ethical and honest, experienced and dedicated, and financially accountable, and he wants to bring a new leadership, a new vision, and a new direction to the Minidoka County Sheriff's Office by seeking the elected office of Sheriff. So vote May 20th for Chris Jensen for Minidoka County Sheriff, paid for by the citizens. For Chris Jensen, Barbara Jensen, Treasurer. Holy smokes, we're busy, and all of a sudden here in the studio we have George Mass. George, pick up the microphone and tell us about what's going on this half hour.
Good morning, Zeb. The Rupert POW and the BFH Motorcycle Association joined the POW last year. This year we give away three $500 scholarships. One will be given out next Tuesday. Last night I had the privilege to be at the Burley High School and present two young ladies with a $500 certificate.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a lot of work goes into this, and it's very rewarding to assist these young graduates.
Well, let me ask you, before we introduce these gals that have won the $500 scholarship, what was some of the criteria? What were you looking for to award them that money?
There's three things that we look for. GPA.
That kind of left you and I out.
Yeah. And community service.
Okay.
And what freedom means to me. They have to write an essay.
Okay.
I personally use the GPA as a tie, but my favorite, what I like, is what freedom means to me.
The essay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the Rupert POW MIA, give us a little background as to why you are trying to enhance these scholarships for these youngsters.
It's basically the community giving back to these young kids that bust their backside to get the education and then has the willpower to further it, to be our leaders of our nation.
Okay.
And it's a privilege to do that, and we could not do it without the support of the community.
And you, of course, George, and your lovely wife, Donna, have done so much to support the POW MIA. What's the ultimate goal? I mean, what are you trying to achieve with all of this activity?
We need to keep the POW out front until we get them all home.
Absolutely.
That's the reason.
Now, you and I have talked about this before, but you've got another big doings I want to hit real quick, and then we'll get these gals on the microphone. But September 20th, you've got a special day over at the Rupert City Park, right?
Yes, that whole day is Rupert POW Day. We're working on some keynote speakers. We honor I got trouble for that. Paying tribute to individual POWs or their families.
Okay, and that's going to be on September 20th.
September 20th at Rupert Square.
And we're hoping that the governor and many other dignitaries will be there. That's what we're hoping.
Yes, it's looking very promising.
Okay, let's hand we've got a microphone over here, and I guess it will share between those two girls. Actually, George, you could give that mic to that that young lady. And we're going to have with us right now Shelby Hymas and Cam Thomas. Which one's Cam?
I'm Cam.
You're Cam. Cam, what do you think about winning this and being the recipient of a $500 scholarship?
I feel very honored.
And tell us a little bit about what you wrote, your essay.
Do you want me to read it to you?
Is it really short? How long is it?
It's a page, and I can read pretty fast.
You can read pretty fast?
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you what, and then we'll have Shelby do hers too. But go ahead real fast and go ahead and read it to us. And remember the rule about the microphone.
Okay.
And remember the stipulation if you don't hold it up close.
Okay.
What do we do?
We throw poop water on us.
Didn't say that, but you're close. All right, go ahead.
Okay, what freedom means to me. Freedom is the sound of bells chiming in the morning or a flag billowing in the breeze, but even the word itself has a lasting effect on the ears. When someone talks about freedom, it routinely ignites an internal feeling of pride. Shoulders back, head up, chest puffed out, it unites us. During early childhood, children are taught the Pledge of Allegiance and how to salute the flag with respect. Likewise, as they grow older, they're taught to always pay respect to veterans and servicemen and women who have fought or are fighting for our country. The actual meaning of the word freedom is briefly explained in the teenage years, but it truly comes down to a personal decision as to what it actually means. It means something different to each individual person, since everyone has his or her own thoughts and experiences that influence that decision. To me, freedom is the very reason I'm allowed to express my thoughts in this essay and anywhere else I see fit. Freedom is defined as the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint, but it's so much more than just a simple definition. It's a foundation on which our country was built. It's written in history, starting with the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. It all started with earning our independence from Great Britain. After this first taste of freedom, we craved more. There's been no stopping our little freedom train. However, freedom is not free. Every day, men and women enlist in the military to serve their country. They fight for the right to the freedoms they have and earn even harder since they want to keep them. Unfortunately, freedom comes at a price. Loyal, hardworking people die to protect the right to freedom. My freedom was earned most directly by my father. It's still fun to hear the stories he has from the service. It gives me great pride to be able to tell people that my dad fought for our country. My grandfathers and great-grandfathers, along with an uncle, have also served. Whenever our freedom is questioned, we have very willing participants to defend it. Without even a second thought, the men and women of our military put every other person above themselves in the greatest display of service above self. Freedom entails rights. These rights include the right to not conform and to be an individual that has an opinion and to be able to voice that opinion. Furthermore, it includes the right to do whatever one wants, even if it's foolish or has negative consequences. Freedom is a daily part of our lives. It's intertwined with every aspect. With freedom comes great responsibility. Free people have the ability to make choices for themselves, but with that ability there are implied duties. These duties include participating in politics and staying up to date on the happenings of the world. Lastly, and most importantly, it means to be involved and to cherish the precious gift of freedom. We're lucky to live in the society that we do, so whenever it seems times are tough, just remember it could be worse without freedom.
That was very well done.
Thank you.
And I got to commend you on your thoughts in there, and we'll listen to Shelby's in just a moment. Now, where are you going to go on to school? Are you a senior now?
Yes, I'm a senior at Burley.
At Burley High School, okay. And where are you going to go to school next year?
I'm going to school at George Fox University. It's a private school in Oregon. It's like 20 miles south of Portland.
Now, I know that area very well.
It's in Newburgh.
It's in Newburgh. Mm-hmm. Okay, then I do know where it is. I used to always land at Portland and then rent a car, and then I used to head, I don't know if you're familiar with the area or not, I used to head south and a little bit east to a little bitty town called Molalla. And they have a huge, like St. Paul, there's very small communities, but they have huge professional rodeos there on the 4th of July, and I used to go over and announce that all the time at Molalla. And I do know where, it is a relatively new school, though, isn't it? George Fox, isn't it? Isn't that the name of it?
Yeah, that's the name of it.
Okay. And what is the basic theme of the college? What is it, liberal arts or what?
Yeah, and their motto is be known, so they want everyone there, because it's not a very big school. It's a Division III, so they want everyone to know who their professors are and all the students to know who each other are.
Okay. That was excellent. And what branch of the service was your father in?
He was in the Navy.
In the Navy?
Yes.
Oh, him and George get along pretty good then. Oh, my goodness. I knew George would set that up. Anyway, congratulations and very, very well done.
Thank you.
And that $500 is going to help quite a bit, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely. I can see the smile on your face. Now, Now, Shelby, stand by. I'm going to do a commercial break, and I'll have you put that mic on the table. We got a little bad cord in there or something, and we'll hear from Shelby in just a minute. But first and foremost, we're going to have this word for Congressman Mike Simpson, and we'll be right back.
Personal injury lawyer Brian Smith is trained to say anything to win. Yet Idaho newspapers call Brian Smith's negative attacks against conservative Republican Mike Simpson false, patently false. Smith is using negative false attacks to hide the truth about his debt collection business that's collected millions, targeting veterans, the disabled, seniors struggling to pay medical bills. Smith's debt collection business has charged interest rates as high as 99%. 99%! One bankruptcy attorney reports Smith's debt collection business triggered as many as half of all bankruptcies filed in Bonneville County. An Idaho judge said Smith's fees were excessive, the debt collection business unconscionable. A peer called Smith inflexible, a brute, a bully. The Better Business Bureau gave Smith's debt collection business an F. False attacks, targeting the vulnerable, predatory interest rates. Personal injury lawyer and debt collector Brian Smith is out for himself, not you.
I'm Mike Simpson, and I approve this message, paid for by Simpson for Congress.
Thank you very much, and don't forget, too, Representative Clark Kaufman, a Filer area farmer and small businessman, is running for re-election for state representative in District 25, Seat B. I know this man, and he received the Ag All-Star Award for his voting record in both 2013 and 2014, and don't forget, he received a 100% voting score from the Idaho Water Users Association. Absolutely a great representative for Southern Idaho and for the state of Idaho. That's why Clark wants you to remember him on May 20th when you go to the polls and re-elect Representative Clark Kaufman from Filer for District 25, Seat B. Paid for by Kaufman for Idaho State Representative for District 25, Seat B, Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. We are going to get a weather forecast in here real quick, and the weather this hour is brought to you by Scarrows Meats over in Jerome. Don't forget, at 331 North Road in Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Scarrows Meats for over 20 years, offering quality products at reasonable rates. Expert meat cutting, always with their own smokehouse, selling taste, one bite at a time. Here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hi, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Nice weather all the way to Saturday night. That's the next time you're going to see a chance of rain in our forecast. Look for high today at 70, and each and every day as you work your way toward the weekend, it just gets warmer. You're going to see low 80s by the time you get to Saturday. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. And it's brought to you by Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road in Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Don't forget, over 20 years of experience in meat cutting, expert meat cutting, selling taste, one bite at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, we're going to call up to the microphone Shelby Hymas. Good morning, Shelby. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. And she's already learned, according to Cam, to hold the mic up nice and close. And give us a little background on you. What high school do you attend?
I also attend Burley High School.
Burley High School. Tell us, both you gals applied for the scholarships. How many people applied, and you were the lucky recipients? Do you know how many applied, George?
There's about 8, 10.
There was about 10 of them altogether. And we just heard from Cam on her essay. And give us a little background. Where are you going to go to school next year?
I'm planning to go to BYU, Idaho.
BYU, Idaho. Yes. Okay. And majoring in what?
Elementary education.
You're going to be a teacher.
Yes.
Okay. What grade do you want to try to teach?
I think second.
Second grade?
Yep.
You're a glutton for punishment.
I've heard.
Okay. But have you got your essay there in front of us?
Yes,
okay,
I do.
Go ahead and read that if you would, please.
The word freedom has taken on a whole new meaning since my two brothers joined the military. I will never forget last July 4th when we were in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for my brother's graduation from boot camp. A patriotic program was held that night for the families that were there. As hundreds of soldiers marched into the park in perfect step to their spot on the field, I think it's safe to say there was not a dry eye to be seen. The national anthem began, and the tears continued to flow as I looked across at these young men and women, including my brother, who are willing to sacrifice everything so that I may experience freedom. We live in a country where we have freedom to vote, freedom to worship, freedom to speak, and freedom of education. I have the freedom to make my own choices, and if those choices are mistakes, then I have the freedom to learn from those mistakes. I do not have someone telling me what to do every minute of every day, taking away my freedom of growth. I can wake up each day and decide what I will accomplish, and if I don't get them accomplished that day, I have the next day. Freedom gives me a sense of hope, commitment, and pride. A hope that our country will continue to be the land of the free. A commitment that I will do my part to make good choices, research candidates, and exercise my right to vote, and pride that I know I have chosen to do my best to represent our country. An experience that I will not soon forget happened this past January when we were in an auditorium of close to 2,000 people. As the program commenced, the presenter asked for anyone serving in the military or those veterans who had served to stand. As I looked to my left, there was my brother. The presenter broke out in the song, "I Am Proud to Be an American," and the tears began again. The whole audience began to sing, and I will never forget the overwhelming gratitude that filled me as I looked at my brother and the others that were standing, that were willing to sacrifice for me, willing to give all to ensure my freedom. When I see the flag waving in the wind, I give silent thanks for all those who have served and who are serving in the armed forces. I cannot be prouder of my grandpa, who served as a U.S. Marine, my uncle, who served in the Vietnam War, and my two brothers, who are serving in the U.S. Army and the U.S. Marines. They truly are my heroes.
You know, I want to compliment both of you young ladies, Cam and Shelby, because you moved me almost to tears listening to both of your dissertations. They were extremely well done. Start with you first, Shelby. You've got the mic, and then hand it over to Cam. But with your peers at Burley High School, do you notice the patriotism that you evoked in that essay? Do you hear the patriotism? Do you hear other people your age talk about America and our freedoms? Or is it just something that they just take for granted?
I think it has been taken for granted a lot because some people don't realize the sacrifice that the men and women do go through for us. Mm-hmm. The people our age, I think, just don't pay attention to it enough. And
do you think the school systems, and I'll ask you the same questions, Cam, do you think the school systems do enough to instill a feeling of patriotism and teach the Constitution, etc.? Do they do enough?
I think there could be more done. We say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning, and in our government classes we talk about the Constitution, but I think it could go into more detail.
Would you mind handing that over to Cam? Cam, same question. Do you, with the kids that are your friends, your peer group, etc., do you think they really appreciate what they have here in this country?
I don't think they do, unless, like, some of them, yes, to a point, but I feel like the reason Shelby and I appreciate it more is because we actually have those people in our lives who have taught us, and that's what we've heard about. We hear about it at the dinner table, at least I do, from my dad, his stories, what happened to him when he served, things like that. And I think there can always be more. You can never have enough freedom, enough patriotism. There's always going to be more. Even the most patriotic people, you still see them brought to tears.
Absolutely. What about what I mentioned to Shelby in regards to the schools? Should they do a lot more?
I feel like they should. We have, at least the classes I attend in the morning, only one of them says the pledge in the morning. The other one doesn't, yeah. Really? But there are flags in classrooms, so it just seems like something you should do, but they just want to take the time to do something else, I guess. When you hear of Mr. Mass and what he does for the Rupert POW-MIA, do you really understand what POW-MIA means? Not completely. Like, I know what they are. The prisoners of war and missing in action. Yes. Those are people that put on the uniform of the United States military, many of which are still prisoners of war, and many of which they've never found their remains and are missing in action. Those are people that went to high schools like yours. Mm-hmm. Those are people that went to the military to serve their country so that you could sit here and receive $500 scholarships, and they're never coming home. And that's got to give you kind of a chilly feeling, doesn't it? Yes. It does. George, I think you've got two really sharp young ladies here.
We did. It was awful tough picking, Zeb. You know, we've talked about it seemed like the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and yet we get a hold of some young ladies like this, and I said at that commencement last night, there's a lot of kids out there that's stepping up, and they're going to take over.
Absolutely. You know what I'd like to see is, and I shouldn't say this to you on the air because I don't mean to embarrass or insert my own thoughts on this, but I'd like to see a male and a female division to where the guys have to get participating in this.
It is, and kind of mind-baffling because we never had a gentleman put in for a scholarship. They've all been young ladies.
You're kidding me? They've all been young ladies?
All been young ladies, yes.
Wow, and two sharp ones here today.
It is.
I mean, you're very articulate, both of you, and I'm not saying that just as a gratuity. You're very articulate, and both of those pieces, I said, moved me to tears. They were very well done.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Yeah, when we get those in, I read those, and I usually read them by myself, because I'll tear up.
Absolutely.
And it's, I'm very proud of these two young ladies.
Absolutely. I've got to take a break, and then we'll wrap things up. I want to remind everybody about Representative from District 25A, Maxine Bell. I know this lady, and she is phenomenal. The primary election is May 20th, and District 25 Representative Maxine Bell urges everybody to go vote. Our nation, and especially Idaho, needs people to exercise their voting privileges and become a voice. Vote May 20th, and be a responsible, patriotic American, paid for by District 25 Representative Maxine Bell, a proven leader for the Gem State. And by the way, too, don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, service is the key word, with the best tire value promise in the industry, with the best of tires for all your vehicles, your cars, pickup trucks, SUVs, horse trailers, and, of course, your boat trailers, everything. Along with the best in tires, don't forget the best in brake service and shocks and struts and front end alignments, and, of course, the batteries, everything. As I said, service to you. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Cam Thomas, Shelby Hymas, both writing winning awards essays for $500, a scholarship that they can use for their continuing education after high school, right, George?
Yes, and the BFH did another ride, and they've will present us with money tonight at City Council meeting. So anytime you see them out riding, or you see the POW Cook Shack out or selling T-shirts, this is what the money goes for, and it's damn well spent.
Absolutely. Final thoughts, Shelby, in regards to winning the scholarship, and we're coming up. I just want you to hit on this. Both you girls answer this. We're coming up on the 4th of July, and the 4th of July is a lot more than fireworks and ice cream. Quickly, give me a real short dissertation. What does the 4th of July mean to you after writing these essays?
Writing these essays, it made me realize a lot what we have and what we do take for granted. The 4th of July, I think a lot of people look at as a big celebration, where those of us that know what it actually means it's a lot more of a touching day. It's a day that we can think about those who have served and who are serving for us.
Very well said. And Cam?
I agree. It's time to spend with those people that have served for you, even if you don't know them. Even if you see a veteran in a community, like I was brought up in the family, if you see them, you just pay for a meal for them and just thank them for their service. Like you see someone wearing a hat that they were in the Navy, you just go up to them, shake their hand, and thank them. And I think the 4th of July is a great day to do that.
I want to tell you, George, I've had a lot of scholarship winners on my program, and I've had a lot of people that have written essays on my program. I don't think I've ever had two sharper young ladies than these two, and I mean that. Excellent choice. You want to hand one of those mics back to George. And thank you, George Mass, on behalf of the Rupert POW-MIA for creating this scholarship fund, because like I said, these are two really nice young ladies.
They are, Zeb, and it's just really an honor to be in their company.
Absolutely. George, thank you for all you do. I appreciate you being on the program this morning.
Thank you, Zeb.
You're very welcome. I got to go out and take the birds out of the engine of my pickup. Cam, Shelby, thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you for letting us.
You're very welcome.
You.
Come back again. Let us know how you're doing in college. I want straight A's.
Oh, yes,
okay.
Of course.
All right. Tomorrow on the program, don't forget we're going to have Doug Johnson from Colorado, Doug Manning right here talking about a spring cleanup, and the Idaho Fish and Game's going to have their monthly report right here tomorrow on Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, we'll start things off at 8:06 in the morning. The way things were, the way things ought to be. Have a great day. Gina, thank you for all your patience. Thank thank you for all your help. And tomorrow we'll see you at 8:06 and ride the horse for 3 hours. Zeb at the Ranch. Have a good one.